G'day guys, Mac with the Circle, and I'm being joined by my new co-host for tonight's episode, and that is Tim from the Eye of Horus podcast.
Hi, how's it going? This is my new primary concern now. YouTube's like way bigger than iTunes, right? Isn't it?
I don't know, what did you do, marry Meghan Markle, and now you're fucking gonna upend your whole life and,
Yeah,
and like move to YouTube?
I'm Meghan Markling it. You and I are gonna Megan. You and I are gonna Meghan Markle it. Go to Europe. No, sorry, leave Europe and go to. Oh, I guess Britain isn't in Europe anymore, is it? It's not EU.
Ooh, too
So
soon?
what? So what? It still counts as being Europe. It's just not in the EU, which stands for Europe, right?
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. The European Union is like, what even the fuck is it anymore? Like, I don't know. It's some sort of thing where basically Germany's economy is tied to all these countries with crippling debt.
Yeah. Do you know what the Queen Mum said about the EU when they asked her? She said
No.
she said it'll never work with all those frogs and Huns and Dagos.
Whoa, rough.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny though, because like, um, fucking the Queen's hubby, Prince Philip, he's like the same way as well, with like how he talks.
Phil the
Just
Greek, yeah.
doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, he called Aboriginals spear chuckers and stuff.
Oh yeah. Dude, Phil the Greek is such a fucking maniac. He's like one of the best royals because he just say like crazy shit. Like my favorite I actually got two favorite Phil the Greek fucking stories. There's one where he was in America and he was visiting like hospitals and there was a kid and he said to this kid like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the kid's like, oh, I want to be an astronaut. And he was like, oh, well, you better lose some fucking weight, kid, because like astronauts are all super fit. Because this kid, like, some fucking fat kid in a hospital. And then and the other one is he was I don't know, it was some fucking event or whatever, right? And he was talking to people in the crowd, and there was an old lady who had one of those like those like foil blanket things, like body heat blankets, because the people had been lining up in the cold or whatever, and and he told her that she looked like a roast lamb.
The funny thing is though, like, he was in World War II and actually fought in the Mediterranean on warships.
Mm.
So it's
Mm.
like he's just from that I don't give a fuck generation. Like, you know, the casual races your
Yeah,
grandparents drop. Yeah,
yeah.
that
At the
is
same
him to a
time,
T.
now I think about that, the fact that he knows that you might put aluminium foil over a fucking roast lamb makes me not think that he's like super out of touch with like how people really live. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe what I've said makes me far right, just like saying that I like Phil the Greek. So who knows, right? Like who the fuck knows in these days?
I don't know. Billy Connolly had a great take on it. It's like the super rich are so insane that it comes like full circle because there's like that. There's those of us who are in like the middle, like the lower end of the middle class and the working class, right? Where we're just the normal everyday people. And then there's those people that want to be like the toffs. They want to be the real top of society, but they're not. They're sort of
Yeah,
up and coming, I guess you could say. And
yeah,
they're just pretentious wankers, like
yeah,
the kind of people who go around to art museums and stare at fucking cans of fucking beans on the wall or something. And they're like, oh, it
yeah,
says so much about society. But
yeah.
it's like the
Yobs are
actual
wankers, man. That's
ludicrous.
like Tism says. Everyone's a yob or a wanker.
Yeah, but it's like once you get to like the ridiculously super rich and wealthy, like they don't give a fuck. They've just got no filter.
Mm,
They don't care, and then
mm.
it comes full circle to where they're like enjoyable again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
Phil the Greek for sure.
Yeah, my grandfather was definitely like that. He would say crazy shit. Like he was a major in World War II and was in the military for a few years after that. Like he was in the Millennium Emergency and that sort of thing. And then he moved my dad out here, like his whole family basically, in like the 60s, like really early in, I think 60 maybe or 50, maybe it was 58, whatever it was, from the UK to here. And he still just acted like he was a major in the army pretty much. Like he would just like when you went to a restaurant or whatever, he'd ask to just go and have a look in the kitchen like every time. Like he'd always go and look at the kitchen. Like even like we went to McDonald's, he'd be like, "Can I have? I want to inspect your kitchen," and they would be like, "Yeah." So every time we went out with him, like my brother and I, were just like, yeah, fuck, we get to like go and have a look in the kitchen, because like, who the fuck ever just like, have you ever been to a restaurant and asked to inspect the kitchen?
No, I have not.
So my grandfather would do that literally every place that he ate. And because we were just like, yeah, fucking granddad was fucking in the army, did a bunch of crazy shit. Like he was an officer in the Gurkhas and also the like a Sikh regiment during the start of the war when they were in Palestine doing some stuff. But yeah, he'd always do that. So we'd just be like, yeah, fucking grandpa's coming to stay. Awesome. Which like place do we eat at? Do you want to see the kitchen of? And you get to go out the back and you just like ask people questions and shit. So yeah, like, but those era people, people seem to have a problem with now. So I don't know. They're all problematic, right?
Well, it's like my grandmother, like so much of our family was in like we were in Korea, Vietnam, World War Two, and it's like she just like hates Asians. Just but she's like the
Mm,
like Clint Eastwood character in Gran Torino. Like she just paints
mm,
them all with the same fucking brush.
mm,
It's like there's some like fantastic Asian people out there, and she's just like hell fucking wary of them. And then she'll like turn around, she'll be like, in World War Two, they used to shove bamboo under their fingernails. And she's like, say this shit
mm.
when I was like a little kid.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
what the fuck,
Oh, dude.
grandma?
Well, yeah. Well, lots of people in that age said a lot of stuff like that, and the reason why isn't because like fucking people of that age generation want to just kill everyone in the world. It's because like there's a thing called propaganda, and there's a thing called dehumanizing the enemy, and for fucking hundreds and hundreds of years, the British, who we most of us are descended from, especially in Australia, were just told a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like before that happened that's happened several times in history. You just like tell people a bunch of stuff to dehumanize the enemy, right? So I mean, I didn't. At this point, what are you meant to do? Just like re-educate all those people who are like super old anyway?
Yeah, it's one of those funny things where like I think it's just people were super trusting back then. It's like that same
Yeah,
naivety because like this is obviously the generation who are like some random rings them up and they're like, yeah, give you my credit card details. Sounds great.
yeah. Well, that's how you hold a fucking empire together, bro. Like you have to have a fucking like cohesive mindset. Just look at all the people that signed up for World War One and Two, volunteer. Like Australia's forces were all volunteers, right? In both of those wars.
Yeah. It wasn't until we got to
Yeah.
Vietnam that we did any conscription.
It's like people think that only the Nazis in World War Two used propaganda, you know? I don't know. Anyway, what are we talking about to do with wargaming? We're just going into some.
Yeah, it all started with the EU. See,
Oh, right.
this is the spiral. This is the
Yeah. Hey,
spiral.
I was wondering, like, has the UK has the Australian dollar been going better against the pound since Brexit or worse? How?
That's pretty much the same.
So
Pretty
no
much the
change.
same.
So the UK's economy hasn't gone totally fucking collapsed.
No, comets didn't rain from the sky and smash the UK and all businesses closed up overnight. No, none of
Mm.
that happened.
Yeah, so like one of the economic powerhouses in Europe breaking off from the rest of Europe, and
Yeah, aren't they
they
like the seventh
haven't
largest
crashed.
economy in the world still?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like that's not bad. They're not doing bad. The old the British Empire, the,
I think
all
yeah,
of the
and
like, fucking 12 islands they have.
yeah, like historically as well, Britain is like a just like financial hub, and you can go back like pretty far, and they've always been like a financial hub. So I don't know.
I
Seems
think they were the
crazy.
first country to
Uh,
have like a state-run bank, weren't they?
Yeah, well, hopefully they give like now that they're out of the EU, what they need to do is give. How about you guys give the fucking former Commonwealth a chance and form a fucking Commonwealth thing instead of the EU. You have Australia, Canada, like fucking all the good countries.
Yeah,
That,
because like you get all that sweet oil, gas, natural resources from like Australia and Canada
yeah,
has a lot of that same stuff as well. England, of course, has all that
yeah,
financial backing. India,
yeah,
obviously, massive like industrial
yeah.
base
India,
right
sign up
there,
with
as well
us,
as
bro.
consumer base. Like, But you can't
Yeah.
bring New Zealand along because they'll just fucking outlaw everything. Kiwis of like a super soft prime minister at the moment who's
Mm.
like cradling the country.
They'll definitely fuck all the sheep.
Guns are bad, cars are bad,
Yeah.
fucking first world living standards are bad. So
I don't. Hey,
she's
hey.
gonna send it straight back to the Stone
Yeah.
Age.
Are you sure we want Canada too with their like blackface prime minister? I mean,
Too soon.
what's going on
What
up in
would Phil the
Canada?
Greek say?
Yeah. What's going on up in Canada? Jesus. But dude, that would be so fucking powerful. Like, imagine, like South Africa, right? South Africa at some point was part of the empire, right? The old British Empire.
What do they do these days? I think they're just full of crime.
Kenya,
Like,
like
because
there's a bunch of
everyone that
countries.
moves away from there just screams about how bad the crime is. So it's like, as far as
Okay.
I know, the only two things to do in South Africa is get robbed and go on safari.
That's controversial. And it's controversial only because for I didn't even just explaining why it's controversial would make me sound racist.
Yeah,
But
but that's the
yeah,
problem, right?
yeah,
Like, you can't just say these things, but like
so
this is what everyone coming out of there is saying.
yeah,
So,
so Turkey
if
can't.
anyone is from South Africa, please let me know in the comments.
So if Turkey can't join
What
the
is South
EU,
Africa
then
got?
yeah, you're saying South Africa won't be able to join the new the second, you can't even call it an empire, second British Union. I don't know. What would you even call it? Second
Well, I
areas
guess you could call
colonized
it
by
like
the British.
maybe the British, maybe like the Commonwealth Economic Zone or something.
I think like is it
Got to have
Uruguay?
like some. It's got to have like some really bland corporatized name.
Yeah. Imagine like all of
Some
Micronesia. Imagine how much better it'd be for everyone if anyone could just go travel anywhere in Australia or like the islands. Britain used to own a whole bunch of those little islands out there. Boom, boom, boom. You can join. Hey,
Hey,
hey.
funny thing about that, like heaps of those islands that Britain used to own, they when leased them to America. Technically, that lease is going to be up in like 2042. So
Oh, really?
Britain's going to get a
Ooh.
whole bunch of extra islands and shit back off the US.
Oh, yeah. Holiday destinations with zero tariffs, right? Boom. That's what you want to do. Are they above sea level there? Like, are they
Yeah,
going to be?
shitloads of them are.
Are they going to be
Although,
above
like,
sea level?
literally, America has massive naval military bases on them, so I don't think America will be too keen to actually hand them back. It's kind of like the Hong Kong situation, where like Britain gave Hong Kong back because their lease ended on it to the Chinese.
Mm.
Except, yeah, I mean,
Well, there
it's
you
the
go, Hong
reverse,
Kong.
where now like America has to give it back, but America ain't just gonna give things to Britain. Come on.
Well, hey, if that doesn't work, like if Hong Kong doesn't like the way they're being treated, they could join us as well, right? Britain used to control that. You can come back, Hong Kong. You can join the new union. New union.
Really don't think that China would let Hong Kong do anything. China's got a lot of its own problems right now, let's face it.
Man, imagine like that would be such a fucking coup, though. Imagine the economic fucking benefits of them being in being in a union with us. Holy shit!
Well, isn't that where like Taiwan comes in?
Yeah, New Guinea, you can join as well. Man, so much fucking yeah, they could. Yeah, why don't they do that? The EU get to fucking cram together and they all hate each other, right?
I don't know, man.
No one hates each other. Like, we don't hate India. Like, India doesn't hate us. Like, everyone in the Commonwealth, when we have the Commonwealth Games. So for people who don't live in the Commonwealth, which is what the old British Empire used to be, I guess. We have this thing called the Commonwealth Games, and athletes from the whole Commonwealth all get together and like do sports. And it's like the Olympics, but it's like it's every 4 years, but it's every alternate year. So every 2 years you get an Olympics and then a little mini Olympics from the old British Empire. So
And it's great because
yeah.
it's like all the countries that normally don't have a fucking chance, they actually get a chance. Because like all the like steroided up like Russian super athletes aren't involved, the Americans aren't involved, the Chinese aren't involved. So it's like all these nations, you have just this huge human pool to draw from to find really talented people aren't in it. So it's like countries that normally don't win track and field, like Australia, actually win fucking medals. Like, because pretty much the only thing we ever win in the Olympics is just swimming. We just dominate the swimming.
We still dominate the swimming in the Commonwealth as well, but
Fuck yeah, that's what you get for being an island nation surrounded by like all the deadliest shit in the world. Like
Yeah.
you got to outrun that shit. You got to be a good swimmer.
It was always us versus the Kiwis, right? Like, oh, sorry, not the Kiwis. Fucking, they didn't have a chance. It was always us versus the Canadians, and like a ton of fucking
And the
different stuff.
Yanks. Lots of Yanks.
Well, there's no Yanks in
Pretty
the
good.
Commonwealth, though.
No, no, no. But like in the Commonwealth, it's
Oh
us
yeah, in the
and
Olympics,
Yanks.
yeah, it's us with the Yanks. But yeah, in the Commonwealth Games, it was like mainly us and the Canadians, just like fucking destroy each other. But yeah, anyway, so that'd be a fucking cool thing for the UK to do, right? Surely, if they're gonna like if Scotland's gonna go and leave them and join the EU, then
I know why
join
Scotland
us.
would like Scotland gets less money off England. Sorry, Scotland gives less money to Britain than Scotland has to get back off Britain to survive. Like the whole reason Scotland and England, if my memory is correct, because I'm Australian, not British, the whole reason Scotland and Britain they had the Act of Union that joined the two together was because Scotland's attempts to make colonies in America completely bankrupted Scotland. So basically, they joined up with Britain joined with England to make Britain, because England basically took on Scotland's debt. And to this day, people are like, "Oh well, Scotland has like heaps of oil in the North Sea, but it's actually owned by Britain and British companies. So like Scotland would only get like a percentage of it. So yeah, I don't think that leaving like the country they have these huge tight bonds with for like 400 fucking years, they've been one nation, would really be as beneficial to them as joining up with the Eurozone again. But
yeah, okay, but imagine if Tasmania was its own country. Like, they would be wanting to join someone. Sorry?
It's not.
Oh well, its own little like realm. But imagine if it was its own country having to do like everything like with. Surely the better off being part.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
that's the thing,
I don't know.
right?
Fuck, man.
Like,
I'm
all
like my
people-
family's from Scotland, and like I've been there. It's fucking super nice. Like if they could just get away with just being like the Tasmania, basically, what's their economy? Just like mostly tourism, right? Surely.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so and wineries and shit like that. That's they used to have logging, but they're not allowed to log it because they've logged half the island. Scotland like basically logged everything, right? During the 1800s, 1700s. There's like they just logged all the forests and woods and shit.
Just hills everywhere, just mountains,
so
and fucking bogs.
I think they're trying to replant it, right? Like with forests and stuff, because they literally just fucking cut most of the shit down. So that's basically what happened in Tasmania. They just didn't have enough time. Like they started too late, so they weren't able to log the entire thing. They only logged like the eastern side of it. So I mean, it's the same sort of. It seems to me like when I've been to Tasmania, I've been to Scotland. They both seem similar to me. So like maybe they can. I don't know. Maybe if they join the EU, maybe it'll.
The Union of Scotland and Tasmania.
Yeah, well, they're not just leaving the UK; they're also joining the EU. So maybe if they join the EU, they'll be like a great holiday destination. Or banking. Maybe there's some sort of banking loophole that they'll be able to make.
I like where your head's at.
Take advantage of, right? Like they'll have some like secret fucking no tariff deal with the City of London or some shit like that they'll be able to like make use of. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know, but I think what we're getting at is that board tour prices are clearly too high. Their economy isn't tanked, so come on, ease up on us.
Well, that's. I'm only saying that because like reading all the news leading up to it, everyone was really worried that they were gonna fucking fuck up. So I was like, ooh, I wonder if that means cheaper Warhammer. Obviously, it doesn't.
No, and well, that was I think the excuse a lot of people were making for the price rises was, oh well, they have to raise prices because the pound is tanking because of Brexit. Brexit's going to happen. It's like, well, now the pound hasn't completely tanked. You're going to reverse those prices. And it's like, all I can hear is like the chirping of crickets and like some tumbleweeds running past. Because they ain't reversing shit.
Yeah.
Like those fucking saber tank, that thing that's literally smaller than a fucking rhino. Like I took photos of it at Active Heresy because there's a few around. They're smaller than a rhino chassis and they're like $150.
Yeah, the pricing is fucking ludicrous. Like it was a 60% fucking increase in price with literally no benefit. There was no faster fucking travel, nothing.
Yeah, well, they
So,
say
for,
better
so
service, faster shipping, but if you've gotten anything since then,
yeah.
it takes longer.
So
Like
so
it
for
used to
people,
take like 2 weeks, now it takes like four to get a set of decals.
yeah. So for anyone who hasn't watched Macca's like other 20 videos about this, they used to if you're in Australia, you used to be able to go to forgeworld.co.uk and you used to be able to buy shit using the Australian to UK pound trend whatever fucking exchange rate. And at the point during like was it 2008, 2000 no wait
No,
no
it
it was
was a
later
bit
than
later. It
that.
was like
Yeah,
2011. It was
20.
like when heresy was first starting up.
Yeah, I was buying tons of fucking. I bought so much fucking heresy shit because the exchange rate was really, really good. And so, boom, just fucking spending mad dollars. And then, even when it fucking adjusted back to being like £2, because at one point it was £1 cost £3 Australian. That was like basically entire all of my life growing up. I know when I went there in 2006, it was £3 Australian to one fucking pound, so it's expensive as fuck to do anything there, right? Um, uh, but at one point it was like one and a half or some shit, right? Like it was really good for a while.
Yeah,
So yeah,
really good for
yeah,
a while. Like you could go
brilliant.
out and buy a whole resin marine
Yeah,
army, and like I did, I even did.
and it didn't cost you as much as a
Back when I
small
was
car. Yeah,
yeah, well,
yeah,
back when I was on on Galaxy in Flames blog,
mm,
I did like I think it was like an experiment. It was like a 2,000 point army for 40k. It was
mm,
competitive, and a 2,000 point competitive 30k army. And
mm.
you could get the 30k army for cheaper, even though it was all resin, had to be bought in from England, than just buying the GW stuff in
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah. Okay, so so that's what it used to be. Then it got a bit more expensive. It ended up being like $2 Australian to £1. So what? Like you can still like buy stuff. Like it's still not a problem. But then Forge World or Games Workshop made Forge World do this, I guess, because it's in line with the rest of the shit. Is they got rid of the old forgeworld.co.uk site that was in old, which was just in pounds, and brought out their fucking region lock thing where if you're in Australia, you can only go through their Australian version of the site and you have to pay whatever they say in Australian dollars, which is like a 60% markup on whatever the exchange rate was at that time. So basically, everything just went at 60% markup. There was no fucking cheaper postage. You didn't get free postage. You didn't get fucking like expedited postage. There was literally no benefit except a 60% fucking markup. So obviously, like everyone just stopped fucking buying Forge World shit, and like the heresy just like went ground to a fucking halt. Like you go to an
It
event.
didn't help that with like the removal of Betrayal at Kelth and burning of Prospero's boxes, like there was plastics available, but the plastics became like gated behind this paywall where it's like for some reason 10 plastic Heresy Marines was nearly $100, whereas 10 plastic
Yeah,
regular Marines for 40k, which are basically identical sculpts with like I think there's
yeah,
less parts in the 30k box even somehow are like fucking only 2/3 of the price. So
yeah.
it's like how are these two identical things? One's way more fucking expensive, and Games Workshop's just like it fucking is. Just deal with it. And it's like you're choking off the game, you cunts.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, think about this, right? So we went to Acta Heresy, which was all the fucking best people in Australia, like all the people who were the most fucking balls deep in the heresy, the background, the fucking books, the fucking law, all that shit. And think about how many of the latest models did you see? Like, I didn't see any
I
fucking
saw three
armigers.
saber tanks.
So 3 saber tanks, and this is like like 90 people, almost 100 people, who are all the most balls deep in heresy. There was 3 saber tanks.
I saw
3 saber
no
tanks. Think
Blood
about that.
Angels Terminators. I
Yeah.
saw no actual Dawnbreakers.
I
I
saw.
saw
I didn't.
no
No giant.
actual
No giant mole,
the
right?
destroyers.
Was there any giant mole?
No
Giant
There's a
mole.
couple of termites floating around.
Yeah, there's a few termites, but no giant mole. That's fucking insane. Like, let's just think about it.
I think
Cause
I was the only one who had Golden Kashyyyk, and mine were all
yeah,
converted out of Custodes bikes.
yeah. All of that stuff, man, is so fucking expensive now.
It's
So
like I got my Evan Kashyyyk
yeah,
and my Kizgan land speeders
yeah,
from the UK. I got a friend to get them for me and mail them over. And with the cost of me paying for the mail and the taxes and all that kind of shit, it cost I think for like each speeder, I saved about 40% of its cost, even paying for like mailing to Australia. Like
It's just
just
crazy.
ridiculous the
Yeah.
fucking markups.
So, well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, like we've said in our podcast isn't about like I never talk about this shit on our podcast because it's about fucking hobby and like buying shit. We always say buying shit is not hobby. But on your podcast, where you talk about like meta stuff such as is Forge World doing a good job? Is Games Workshop doing a good job? Is the 60% fucking price hike with no benefit for customers just because they're in another part of the world a good job? Well, so so I'll come on here and say this stuff, but like like it makes it really hard to grow a hobby when they suddenly just like the company that's selling you shit. Like, it's not like the government puts a fucking tax on it, like with cigarettes. It's not like we've got a cigarette-based podcast and like, oh, okay, the government's taxing cigarettes. It's the company that's actually trying to sell you shit, cranks the price by 60%.
The Australian taxes on models is less than the British taxes are on models, but somehow the price is higher here.
It's fucking...
Like, it's just one of those fucked up things.
What the hell?
It's like same reason I don't go on your podcast and talk, like, shit about the company because like
there's no point. Well,
hobby,
okay,
right?
I say there's no point, but this is you show people are interested. I think the people who listen to us aren't as interested in it, but your show definitely like harnesses a crowd who are interested in it, and you've got like 4 times as many subscribers as us. So people who are interested in pricing talk and real talk about the fucking hobby and about real talk about Games Workshop and real talk about Forge World, 4 times as many people. You can go to Macca's page. How many subs have you got? 10,000? Over 10,000?
Yeah, 10,500.
Yeah, so we get like 2,500 usually, and that's for 30. That's our 30k channel, and we also have Necromunda. Blah 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 blah. The 30k channel gets the 30k main episodes get the most listenership, but the other ones also have decent. But a quarter of your listenership. So there's 4 times as many people who like hearing this kind of stuff. So maybe we should start talking about it on our show. I'm only joking. We're not going to.
The thing is,
we're about hobby and growing the
right?
hobby. Yeah.
A lot of the time, super cynical shit happens, and I kind of just say, oh, whatever, man.
I just go offline now. When I saw that, so I'll tell you the story of what happened with that fucking Dark Angels unit. As soon as I saw that people like, it was the first. I can't remember who the fuck it was. But someone pointed out within like 5 fucking seconds of the
it was me
thing going out. Yeah, maybe it was you.
Because I said it to James because he was like, "Oh, look at this," and I went, "Hey, James, what's their special rule?" And he goes, "Oh, it's this." And I went, "What are they?" And he just started laughing.
Yeah. Okay. So for people who don't know, they were Cataphractii Terminators. Cataphractii Terminators can't fucking Overwatch. These things had a weapon where they could re-roll to Overwatch. So immediately people were like, "Oh, re." And I just like went fucking didn't turn off my phone, but just like didn't fucking check Facebook for about like 6 hours because I knew there'd just be like everyone just like Ree! And that's exactly what happened. Like, and then what do you think happened with Forge World? Like, do you think because I was totally happy for them to be like fucking no, it's future proofing, right? Like what's but then they changed it.
It's one of these weird things where I'm like, mostly like unit specific equipment doesn't like cross pollinate into the Legion. Like if the Legion already has specific equipment, it may cross pollinate onto a unit, but it never happens in reverse. They never bring out a unit and like the unique war gear of that unit is what everyone else gets. No, it's generally whatever the Legion as a whole has access to, like sergeants, that's what the elite units can take, is like a whole unit can take it. That's kind of like the special deal, right? And when I saw it, I think in the video I only mentioned it for like a minute or so in the video, in like a 15-20 minute video. I'm just like, oh yeah, because I was more interested in the rules, like the other rules where it was like how fucking... They've given you all this variety, but it really just boils down to pretty much 1 or 2 rules you're ever going to take because there's only 2 good ones in there, which is never a great sign. But it's like, you know me pretty well at this point. I would love to just talk about the good things in hobby. Like on my Australia Ultimus page, my 1,000 Suns, I have like all this fluff and background on it. It's like a and photoshops I've done of some of the characters and campaigns that I've been involved in. And it's like, I love talking about the good part of the hobby. But at some point there, it was like we were just getting shut down so much by people. Like, you'd point out a problem, you'd be like, oh, wait, this isn't good. And people would just shoot you down straight away. And I was like, well, you know what? Someone actually needs to just get this shit out there. And that's how this like circle of hatred began. Is it was like,
Wait, who are you addressing? Are you addressing haters of the outer circle right now?
oh, okay, take as an example, right? You point out things that are factually bad,
Yeah.
and people will defend it or just put you down. And even the video I put up tonight when we were recording, and it was just a whole bunch of different fuck ups they made in the last couple of years. And, you know, like just missing rules, tourists in pictures on Prospero, stuff like that. That's hilarious. And it's got people coming on disliking it. Now, that's fine, whatever, I don't care. I just always prefer it when people come on and actually try and like debate the points. But there's this cognitive dissonance where people are just like, I have to dislike you for picking on the company. It's like, why are you like, this is in your best interest as the customer.
Well,
Like, you should look after yourself, and by looking after yourself, the company's actually looking after themselves because they're going to sell more products if you're really happy with what they're doing. But if you're unhappy with what they're doing, that's a bad sign generally in my, you know, where I'm from.
But so someone who's just like outer circle, so fucking negative. Why don't you have you ever had like one of those guys on and been like, why don't we just talk about it?
Not really. I mean, I'm happy to engage with them, but most of the time I do, I'll bring up like a really objective point because I'm, you know, I have a lot of emotion, but at the end of the day, I'm an engineer and I go very practical a lot of the
I'm
time.
a cold-hearted machine.
Yeah, you get that kind of like, you try and turn an argument into a black and white wherever possible because, you know, then you can, if something's grey, you're never going to come to an agreement. But if you can make something a black and white, then you can, you know, you can make terms with the other person, you know, whether I'm right or wrong. And I'm happy to have people on who have different opinions to me, right? But a lot of these people, like I did some criticism of Forge World where I'm like, hey, you know, you need to bring back Book 8 because there's no rules of Blood Angels, and your starting set for the Blood Angels is completely illegal list, so it's useless to people to actually buy. This kind of feedback, but I did it in a really professional, polite way because again, it's not, I'm not on my forum, I'm on their forum, so I'm giving them respect. And people come on, they're like, you're just negative, they should never listen to you, and I'm like, what's bad about what I said? And they just sort of do like, you know, like the fucking NPC meme, where they just sort of frown at you, like they have no response. That's what happens. So it's like, if you bring out factual problems with the company, people will just have no actual response to it, and rather than coming to you and saying, well, here's what you need to change in order to, you know, make us happy, they come in and just saying it's not right how you do things. It's like, well, what choice do I have? Especially as an Australian, like people don't understand swearing is not a rude thing necessarily in our culture. Like every workplace is just full of fucking swearing, right?
Yeah.
We swear just for emphasis. Like people's mums swear in Australia. It's not like, oh my god, I can't believe mum swore. Literally, your mum will call people cunt if she's pissed off. It's just an Australian thing. Not all mums, of course.
Oh, I gotta say, I don't swear in front of my mom. Well, I try not to swear in front. I never used to. I don't know. I swear quite a lot. I'm renowned for my fucking swearing, right? But like, I always try not to swear around my parents. Well, you know, like as much as I could. But I think because like growing up, it's like, hey, don't swear, and you're just like, ooh, fucking swearing means something. If I swear a lot, ooh. So I don't know. I think that's why I swear more. But I also worked in IT.
True.
I also worked in IT
like
where you're
that,
just
right?
constantly swearing like a motherfucker because it's all just internet bullshit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we swear for emphasis, not to actually offend people or hurt people. Like, we swear to our friends. It's when we're like really polite to people that it's actually people almost being cold in Australia. It's like if you see a mate and you're like, "Oh, hey, what's going on, shit lips?" It's like, "Oh yeah, he's being funny." Whereas you walk up to someone, you're like, "What's going on, champ?"
Mm.
it's like whoa, whoa, he did not.
Mm.
Like I was chatting with Nick Beatty yesterday, and I fucking deliberately was champing him just to be a turd, and he knew exactly what I was doing. He's like, hey, 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 don't go there.
Oh, was he at that event the other week? The doubles event?
No, no, we were just
Ah.
chatting through like
Oh, okay.
Facebook Messenger.
Yeah. He's got to get some fucking photos into the 28 mag. Do you know what 28 mag is?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. Go to 28-mag.com. You'll love it, Maka. It's all Blanchitsu stuff.
Bland shit soup, great. That's the thing. Like, that's one of my legitimate gripes with the hobby is you can't just paint something sepia and think you've done a great job. Like you've got to do something with the miniature and with the paint. You know, that's all I ask. It's all I ask. I mean,
All
at the
I've
end of
got
the day, you're not. You do you. You
yeah.
do you.
All I gotta say is Joker fucking meme. You wouldn't get it. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's keep going. So what we were talking about, like people fucking having, because I've noticed like on your Facebook, not a lot. What was it? Maybe it was somebody posted a picture of something or some rules, and was it the new Bombard thing? The Grav fucking Bombard, the Grav thing. That's just that mass, and someone posted on there saying something about Inner Circle, like, oh well, it's the rules weren't working or something, and somebody said like, so the Inner Circle hasn't already grabbed about it or something, and then just like someone was like, oh, is it that bad? And they were like, yes, the Inner Circle is that bad. Someone just having a go at you, like, what the fuck, like. I don't know.
Yeah,
seems crazy.
That's just a day in the life of the outer circle, mate. Like,
okay. It's crazy.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, people get pissed off that you pointed out. I think that's what it is. That's the problem. Because
what are they saying? What are they saying you're negative about? Like, there has been like that new missile thing, the fucking whatever the fuck it's called, the Aquator with the spiculous missile thing. That's just fucking ridiculous. The new thing that they've just brought out, the rules for that's ridiculous. The graviton thing. Why the fuck?
Yeah, one's ridiculous. Because
we can talk. Yeah, let's talk about them.
Yeah, it's potentially gamey, right? Because it's like you could have the example I give in an early video is like you could have, say, a militia unit like 50 cultists base to base in a big blob, and you drop a shell on them, you'll get like 10 hits on the unit at most. Even though you drop it right in the middle of it, so you've got this crazy cluster warhead. Whereas meanwhile, if you deliberately aim the shell between multiple units and touch multiple units, you'll get way more hits. So it's deliberately making people be gamey.
So for people,
bad precedent.
Yeah. So imagine this for people who are listening or watching. I don't know if Mako can put up some sort of visual aid. And obviously 1 in 50 people have that thing where you can't fucking actually visualize shit in your own mind, so sorry for you guys. But imagine this: there's a 20-man Marine squad standing in the open, and you get your 7-inch template and you put it over that unit, and you cover every single one of those guys. You only get 10 hits. Or you could go 6 inches to the right or whatever, and suddenly you're touching. You just got one guy from that 20-man unit is under the blast. One guy from a 10-man Seeker team is also under the blast. One character just standing there on his own, he takes 10 hits. The fucking 20-man unit takes 10 hits. The 10-man unit takes 10 hits. And maybe some other unit is there nearby as well. They just take 10 hits. Doesn't matter how many fucking there are. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even fucking matter. So suddenly you've done 50 hits, whereas every other fucking weapon in the game, you would put that 7-man thing, hit all 20 men in that unit. They all take a whatever the fuck the rules are for it. Who gives a shit? No one's ever going to use it anyway. Well, are they? Maybe they are. Strength 7, AP3, or whatever the fuck it is. You know, like, well, what the fuck? What is that roll? Like, what is it even meant to like fucking represent? It's just like. What are we fucking doing here? And then so everyone's like, oh, okay, strange. Everyone's holding their breath for the next one. The next one is, imagine a graviton cannon like you have on a rapier, where it's just like a large blast. Against Marines, it's basically like a strength 3 hit. Against humans, it's basically like a strength 3 hit. It's AP4, doesn't have ignores cover, but it does have a shorter range of only 24 inches instead of 36, and it has barrage. That's exactly what it is. It's just a fucking graviton cannon, shorter range that can shoot over the top of some shit. And it's 100 and what? How many points is it?
140.
140 points. Or for 15 points extra, you could buy my let me introduce you to my friend, the Legion Medusa, which like has always been just a fucking thing. Is fucking crude. Has like just an open back, crewed by 2 fucking Marines just sweating their ass off. They're in power armor in case someone goes to fucking rake them with an SMG. They're in power armor, just like loading shells into a huge gun, just dropping strength 10, like boom, fucking honest fucking 5-inch strength 10 blast on people. Or you can also upgrade it to fucking phosphex, and you can have up to 3 of them in an army. It's limited to only 3 because they're fucking so cool. Why would you go and spend? What's the point, Maka? What is it? What is the fucking point?
No, this is the thing. And
What's the last one going to be?
Like, I guess it's down to theme.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm all for theme. You know that. Like, I've played with a Mastodon before. That's how themey I am.
Dude, I use whirlwinds, and I would use whirlwinds before I use those things, because I can get 2 whirlwinds for the price of that 1 strength 3 AP4. I could get 2 whirlwinds to this strength 5 AP4 large blast with 48-inch range. And let me tell you, 3 whirlwinds, I took them in 2 separate 3,000 point battles. Yes, last weekend, and they're fucking shit. Over the both 2 battles against giant seas, like one of them was against an army that had 60 Indictarii, so like a lot of infantry to shell. One of them was against word bearers. Those big 10-man squads. There was an assault squad actually with melter bombs that launched themselves, just like, let's just jet across the table and fuck up Tim's fucking macro-arid explorator. And I'm like, oh, maybe the whirlwinds can like shoot those guys dead before they reach my explorator and melter bomb it to death. Nah, the whirlwinds fucking did nothing. The whirlwinds are fucking useless piles of shit. And this Aquadar costs twice as much per fucking whirlwind.
Well,
and they're not as good as a whirlwind.
So,
why?
For twice the points of an Aquator, you can get a fucking Storm Eagle, which has a fucking multi-melter in its nose, 2 twin las cannons, and if a machine spirit, it's 2 whirlwind templates, it is something else. And it's got transport capacity, and it's fucking armor 12 all round, and it's a fucking flyer. Or even just tanks, like a Sicker and Arcus is 60 points more than the Aquator. And it's a fast tank, it's got more armor, and it's got a fucking ridiculously overpowered gun.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, let's try something though, Maka. Let's try something. So I'll be Forge World. But if we make a unit that has the same rules or similar rules to a unit that is already a thing, no one will buy it. What have you got to say to that?
If you offer people something that's unique, has a unique selling point, people will buy it. That's true. But you've also got to compare to what exists already. So look at the Saber. You have a worse Javelin land speeder. And I get it.
Oh,
like,
you're a real Saber hater. I forgot about that. Yeah.
If you have a themey list, like you're running Iron Wing or something, and you're like, oh, I want some fast attack. Okay, cool. It'll probably float your boat. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're trying to be gamey or not. If that's what you want, go for it, right? But at the end of the day, it's objectively worse. And you're like, in an ideal world where I could buy everything I want from the company anytime I like, that's fine. But the problem is I have limited financial resources. Therefore, most of the time I'm going to be buying things that I either really just love them, or financially it's just smarter for me to buy them because they're better than alternatives, right? So it's like anyone can buy movies, right? But you buy the movies you like when you go to, like, you know, the fucking video store, your local Blockbuster, and rent a VHS. you buy the ones you want to actually watch, right? Well, same thing with these tanks. It's like, if you give me a vehicle that does something really well and it does something that is unique to it, that something else can't do, then I'll want to buy it. And it's like, I look at that Saber and I'm like, okay, its best weapon, the one that everyone's screaming at me like fucking, I don't know, they're just screaming at me like Antifa or something. They're they're like, oh, it has a single neutron thing that can concuss vehicles. It's like, okay, how often does the ballistic skill for half range las cannon actually penetrate another tank in Heresy? It's
Mm,
so fucking rare. Like
not my
land
tanks.
raiders,
Hashtag flare
like
shield.
yeah, flare shields are everywhere. So
Mm,
it's like most vehicles are equivalent armor fucking 15 against a las cannon. So
mm.
you can't hurt them. Like you're just glancing them with that fucking weapon. You're never going to get its special rule off that causes them to shut down.
So sorry
Um,
for people not following along. This is a neutron laser. So neutron lasers, or all the other extant neutron lasers, are strength 10, AP1, and have a rule where if you penetrate the unit, then you shake them. Basically, right? Is that that's the case, right? So or you
no, they
stun.
have this thing. It's called like concussive pulse,
Yeah, you
and
stun lock
the
them or something.
unit, the unit can't do anything next turn.
No, they can still.
Like
They just can't. They can
they
only
can move.
snapshot.
It just completely. They can't. No, they can't fire at all.
No, they
Basically.
can snapshot. They can only snapshot.
Oh, okay. They can snapshot, but since
Mm.
most of the vehicles you're shooting
Yeah,
at have things like
yeah.
fucking
Templates.
battle cannons and
Yeah,
turbo lasers,
yeah.
yeah, they're fucked.
Yeah, and like even if it's like a Spartan, it means you're only rolling fucking sixes to hits. You've got to re-roll in that obviously, but like it still just shuts it down. And the biggest benefit is putting fucking hits on stuff like for example knights or things with a Magnum melter or any of the other template fucking sadistic fucking template weapons that are out there, like a Profiron for example. But the one on the Saber is only strength 9, so you have to roll a 6
And
to
this is the
penetrate.
problem where it's like you're pretty much never gonna get that off.
Mm.
And for the points for two of them armed with that weapon, you could get just as many shots out of a Seeker and Venator, which is a way better tank.
Mm. Well, that's the thing. If you, I don't understand why it has these like why doesn't like its whole job's to move fast, get into the side of the enemy or the back of the enemy, and then fuck it up, right? Like, why doesn't it have like a Magnum melter or some kind of melter weapon? Because like a Volkite, like if it's sitting back, like a Volkite Culverin and a Volkite whatever the fuck whatever it's got, that's pretty cool. But if you're sitting back, you might as well just spend those points on like a Vindicator Laser Destroyer Squadron. It's just gonna sit there and like fucking blow the fucking shit out of stuff. Yeah,
better.
it's very.
And,
This is strange. Strange layout. I don't know. It's very.
I mean, because like a javelin, it can jump over walls, it can deep strike in, you can outflank with it. It has a jink.
Yeah.
This is just a fucking rhino with some guns on the
Yeah,
ground.
I mean, it does
And,
get.
and it's a weird thing where like I don't hate that. I think it's a beautiful model. I really want to establish that. I think it's beautiful, and I would have it in a heartbeat if it actually delivered me something. But it's just got no synergy. And you look at the weapons on it. It's like, why is the main gun just a Volkite Culverin with worse range and 2 extra shots? It's like, why don't you just give it 2 Volkite Culverins or give it like the big ass Culverin
Or
off
quad, dude, quad
off,
Culverin.
like, yeah, or give it like that one off the what's it called? The fucking
Yeah, you're right. Like, what the fuck
Lehman
is the
Russ,
point of that weapon?
Like that Lehman Russ
Yeah.
Culverin?
Dude, I didn't
like,
never even thought about that before. But that weapon is dog shit. Like, what's the point of it? It's like, why not just put quad Culverins and then you're getting 8 shots and they're twin link.
But the Culverin, but it has a Culverin as well on top of it,
and you can put a Culverin on it
it's
as well.
like,
Yeah.
So you've got a normal Culverin on there with its like 42-inch range or 46-inch range.
Yeah.
It's got a weird range.
Yeah.
But then you've got to get in close with the main gun on its hull.
Is the main
It's
Culverin
why
what
the main
AP is it?
gun
What AP is it?
Why is the main gun a shorter range than the fucking secondary weapons are on the fucking tank? Like it makes no sense. And like the Antler snub autocannon, right? In its nose, it's like a half of a Leviathan's storm cannon or whatever it is. You know, like the Leviathan has like that quad autocannon thing. But it's like, oh, it's 24-inch range, strength at AP4. It's like, okay, you can hull point rhinos to death, but you really don't see a lot of rhinos in the meta. Like, what is it giving? And again, you compare it like with that stock endless snub autocannon. It's got heavy
No, it's
2
24
limited
inch range.
sunder.
24 inch range.
Yeah, all the weapons are 24 on it, mate.
Yeah, that
Uh,
Volkite Seeker. What is the point of you fucking? What would you say you do here? Like, what the fuck is the point of that? It's like it's a 1.5. It's not even a 1.5 fucking culverin because a culverin is 45-inch range and this is only 24-inch range. It's just like, all right, let's dial the speed down to like about like fucking just over half, but let's fucking shoot an extra two. Like, what the fuck?
well, here's what it boils down to, right? The Volkite Seeker, if you're using it when you're over 24 inches range, you'll be firing 4 Volkite culverin shots. If you're under 24 inches range, you'll be firing 10 Volkite culverin shots. So basically, it's just halving your firepower until you're in that range with an identical weapon stat line. Why? Just give it the same stat line or make its stat line radically different. Don't make it the exact same thing, just with worse range, with more shots. It just makes no sense to me. It's like they pick 24 inches as like this arbitrary thing. The vehicle's armed with 2 main guns, but it's a fast tank. So you want to be moving this thing to take advantage of like positioning, get into some flanks and harass. But when you move it, then you can't fire your weapons at full ballistic skill except for like one weapon. So
do you think they're just like trying to invent too many new weapons? Like this saber tank, the unit entry has like 4 new weapons. Like
I think you brought it up in like your latest episode on the podcast. How many Volkite weapons are they up to?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I should preface this by saying I like the fact that there's like 18 different Volkite weapons, and the more sandbox, the better, I think. But this isn't just more sandbox. This is like just creating bloat, right? That's what, like, I've seen a lot of people saying, or I've heard a lot of people saying, bloat. And, like, I mean, that's what killed fucking 7th the first time, right? Bloat. So the more weapons you invent, the more fucking you have to page through to remember what's the difference between a Volkite Seeker, a Volkite Caraval, a Volkite Cavator, and a Volkite Charger, and a Volkite Caliver, and a Volkite Serpenta, and a Volkite... What else? What else is there? The
Carronade,
Culverin,
Demi-Culverin.
Demi-Culverin. I'm fucking bloated. I mean, so yeah, bloat. But, I mean, saber missiles. Who the fuck's gonna... Dude, do you know how many times you hear people say, does anyone know what are the Storm Eagle missiles?
Yeah, the ones that are just whirlwind missiles.
No, the Storm Eagle.
Oh, you mean the ones actually under the wings?
Death Strike. Is it Death Strike?
Yeah, it's something.
Whatever the fucking anti-tank missiles are that has, they errated it at some point, and no one fucking ever remembers what the rules are. So every event is like, there's always people walking around going, "Hey, does anyone know what the fucking whatever the Death Strike missiles or whatever the fuck they're called? Does anyone know what they do? Does anyone know what saber missiles do? Like, it's just a whole new fucking weapon." Neutron blaster, is it like a neutron laser? I don't know. Is it strength 10 AP1? No, it's only 24-inch range, strength 9 AP2. Like, I don't know. But do you know what would fix this all? Is if Forge World in the next book. Remember when we got a poster in one of the books? Was it book 1? You got the fucking awesome poster?
Nah, book 4. Book 4 gave us like, it's on my wall next to me actually. It has like a picture of like a knight, and on the back of it, it's all these different knight houses. But on the front of it's like the actual front cover of book 4.
Oh, okay.
Like
there's also an
Acheron or something.
Well, there's definitely one from the first 3 books that I've got on my wall that's like Angron or something like that. And then there was one book where you got cards in there with all the weapon summaries, and most importantly, the fucking
book 4. It was in the
Warlord
book 4 limited edition or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It came in like this. It came with It had a sheet for Mechanicum, Soul Auxilia, and the Legiones.
Yep, all the Warlord traits. Yeah,
and it had a heap of shortcuts on it. It had Warlord traits. It had all the different weapons they had available at the time.
Yeah,
it was fucking good.
Yeah. All will be forgiven if Forge World did that.
Haven't done it since.
Yeah, they just need to. It's probably like fucking 5 sheets now, 5 A4 sheets, just to all the new weapons that they bring, because they bring out a new fucking pattern of a weapon every single thing now.
Well, you know the weird one. Sorry, with that.
Yeah.
I bring it up a lot. I'm like, why the fuck weren't Dark Angels in the last book? And people are like, oh well, they had to redo the Custodes list. I'm like, just do a red book. Like, just put all the Custodes stuff in a fucking red book, and then people can just buy that red book. You don't need to put them in a black book for a second time.
How many? Well, wait, hold on. How many of the legions are in a Legion red book? Are in that Legion red book? There must be enough to do another red Legion book, right? Surely. Space Wolves, White Scars, Dark Angels,
Yeah,
Blood
yeah. There's
Angels.
five legions at least that aren't in it, which is Space Wolves, Blood Angels, Thousand Suns, White Scars, and Dark Angels. So they could do another red book after book 9, I guess. But I mean, they could have put the Dark Angels into book 8 if they didn't put all that massive section on the Custodes and Sisters of Silence in. They should have just made it its own fucking red book. Instead, people who already had Custodes have to go buy the black book to get the rules that they got out of the fucking last black book.
That's true.
Like
yeah, but that was
stretching this shit out over multiple books.
It was only the Custode stuff there, and it was only about 10 pages. Like, there's no way they could have fit Dark Angels into 10 pages.
No, it was more. It was the entire Custodes list plus all the extra units they added. Like, it's actually.
Oh yeah, but it's only the Custode stuff. It's not all the sister shit too. It's only like how many entries? Like 10?
No, it's like fucking 15 or 20. It's actually a lot.
Okay. Well, whatever. If you want to have Dark Angels in 15, 20 pages, then that's fine. I'm pretty excited to see how they're going to fill like 300 pages worth of just Night Lords and Dark Angels.
Look at Chondax. They dragged out Chondax, which was like, there was a couple of Alpha Legion dudes there, but Forge World blew it up into like this massive like conspiracy theory. And it's like Horus dispatched the Alpha Legion there to hinder the White Scars, but he did it at the the Triumph of Ulanor. But the Triumph of Ulanor was fucking years before Horus got corrupted, so why was he sending the Alpha Legion to fuck with the White Scars? Like, none of it makes fucking sense. Like, why did they write and add this to the book? Like, it would have been fine as just saying there was some Alpha Legion sneaking around while the White Scars fought fucking orcs until they found out fucking heresy was happening. And then you could have had the Thramis Crusade in the book, but because they stretched out this White Scars section just with filler.
So when did Horus send the Alpha Legion to do that? Like straight
at the Triumph of Ulanor.
What?
Yeah.
How's it?
Yeah,
that can't be. That can't be though, because like he wasn't corrupted until like Davin.
I'll cite it, and yeah, that's right. It makes no sense.
There's like maybe a tiny fucking part where he's like before Davin, where he's like, oh, it's too soon. Why have they disbanded the fucking War Council and started the fucking rebuilding council? Why are they doing that? Why are they sending out tax collectors now? It's too soon. It's fucking bullshit. But there was no way he was gonna fucking turn traitor because of that.
No, that's right. It's why it makes no sense. But
before he goes to the Interacts
and then system,
yeah,
to dig in and establish satellites and all this secret stuff and listening stations.
The fuck?
Decades before the fucking White Scars. Yeah, it makes no sense. That's in book 8. I'll fucking send you some pictures after this. Just
send me the documents.
But yeah, I'll send the documents. We have the documents. It's turning the frogs into power gamers. Yeah, it just makes no sense. And it's like, because of that, you're stretching it out. Like, Dark Angels could have been the last book, every book sort of had like 4 factions previously. And then we got to Prospero, and it was like the Custodes just became like its own, even though it was just one army list. For some reason, the 2 factions in the Custodes or something count as 2 whole factions for the purposes of filling out the book. It just feels like these books are just starting to drag a little bit. I don't know. I mean, more heresy content's always good, don't get me wrong. And I really enjoy reading through all the fluff and stuff, but I also want everyone to have all their toys at the same time. And those poor people who've been hanging out for Dark Angels have been hanging out for 9 fucking years now. Like, that's ridiculous.
Well, there's also people who... Well, hey, it's not just that. So, people who didn't get Dark Angels back in 2012 or whenever the fuck whenever the first Black Book came out, those people who didn't get Dark Angels till then now have been waiting 10 years. But why don't you think about the people who play, for example, Emperor's Children or Death Guard, who haven't had any new shit for 10 years, Macca? How about that?
Well, I bring it up a lot. I'm like, there needs to be some kind of revisit along the way of those earlier legions. Um,
They have
how
actually
do you do
updated
it?
them.
That's
They've
the
given
question.
yeah. There was a big leveling of like when they brought out the red book for the legions, like the legion, whatever the fuck it's called.
Well, they picked things like Justerian because Justerian were it was like 240 points for three or something ridiculous like that.
Well, they kick. Yeah, they
So,
gave. Well, they for example, they gave uh the Sons of Horus Death Dealer, which is like one of the best fucking rules in the game. Emperor's Children, they gave them just like a straight up +1 initiative on the charge. Like they fixed. They did give them a bunch of shit. So Dark Angels players definitely have it worse than everybody else, even though they've had a list since book fucking 6 or something, right?
yeah, well, but I mean,
Still
we're only just
complaining.
starting to see
Still
the fruits
complaining.
of it because, again, if you've got no markings, you've got no decals, you've got no edge brass, you've got no characters, like all
Yeah,
that
that's
stuff's
true.
come within the last couple
No
months.
bra sucks. Yeah.
And my White Scars project, I did heaps of freehand on it because I didn't have a choice. It's not like I sat down and went, fuck, you know what would be great? Just doing a whole bunch of real pain in the dick freehand on my army. That would just be tops. No, I really wanted decals. But Forge World was like, it's too much work to provide this absolute basic necessity for you.
Mm.
And then you got legions like, Emperor's Children haven't had decals for like 7 years or something ridiculous. So it was just like these really rare decals that floated around on the internet. It's like the new decal sheets are great. Why did it take so long? That's the question. Do they
Mm.
not care, or I don't know. I want to think positive thoughts, but it's very hard because, as the people playing the game, you can't just be kept thirsty all the time for stuff because eventually you grow too impatient. Where it's like people who are hyped up, you have a thriving community, and then people go, "Oh fuck, it's just been too long waiting for this thing," and they just walk away from it. I know that's a really fucking bleak outlook, but that's exactly what you see happening. Like, how big
Mm.
was the heresy scene back pre-book 6,
Oh yeah.
and then how quickly has it tanked after book 7? And not because of book 7, but because they basically squatted so much between like the price rises and like I did that graph a while back. You'd probably remember where it was showing like the release rate, like
Mm.
how often we got Primarchs, how often we got books, and just like as soon as you hit book 7, it just like fucking nosedived off the fucking cliff
Well,
where
yeah, I
there's
think
just nothing coming out.
yeah, the biggest thing when I noticed it was when Book 7 came out, and it was clear that Custodes were just OP as fuck. Well, a lot of that shit in that list was just OP as fuck. But then Forge World just literally didn't address it for like almost 2 years.
Yeah, but then like they go too far the other way sometimes. Like Thousand Suns are just shit to run now because they've just given like adamantium will to everything. There's just heaps of all this Psyarchan which just fucks over Psychers, but there's nothing that works in the reverse that makes the Psychers better. It's
Mm.
like they've gone out of their way to like like the Araman and Magnus level, like the Mastery fours, like the really strong Psychers. They've gone out of their way to nerf those guys. But the problem is Forge World forgets that most legions have like a level 1 guy, like a navigator or something, or like a level 1 or 2 librarian. And they don't realize just like how hard a kick in the dick it is that like a person goes and they bring on this librarian character, like, oh, here's 170 points of librarian, and then Forge World's like, yeah, well, this guy here took like a fucking 20-point relic, and now your librarian's fucked in the A.
Mm.
It's like that is terrible game balance, and it makes you wonder, like, is a hard counter the only counter on their mind? I don't know what it is, but it's made playing some of these legions just absolutely fucking abysmal. Thousand Suns especially, because they took away like all the things that made them good at being psychers. They went, oh, you got 3+ casting? No, you've got 4+ casting like everyone else. And it's
Mm.
like, oh, okay, well, that's not too bad. And it's like, oh, but by the way, if you miscast, unlike everyone else, your whole army has to take a pinning check. It's like, wait, what? Hang on,
Mm.
that's a thing? And it's like, yeah, no, and if you lose all your independent characters, which you're only ever going to have a max of 3 of, then your whole army loses the ability to run. All your sweeping advances are -1. Fucking, all your leadership drops by 1. All units immediately have to take pinning tests. Like, this is insane things. It's like, so basically, I don't want to cast psychic powers, and if I lose my characters, I'm fucked.
Mm.
Why am I playing this legion?
Well, yeah, but you're not fighting against fucking Sister of Silence every game, though. Like, how many
Yeah, but
times
that's got
have you
nothing to
played
do with
against them?
system science. That's just the legion rules.
Yeah, but what's fucking with your Legion that bad there? Like you're talking
No, no,
about the
that is
relics.
just the Legion rules. Like just playing Thousand Suns now, if you get a perils and it kills a character, or you take a wound from perils,
Oh,
your
okay,
whole
yeah.
army has to take pinning checks. That's just a rule. If you lose your HQs, no matter how it happens, the whole army loses the ability to sweep. They lose the ability to run, and then -1 all their sweeps, and they get like a -1 leadership debuff. Like that's
When
just for
wait,
being
what?
Thousand Suns. Yeah,
When
that's
did
just
they
for being Thousand
when
Suns.
did they errata that?
It's all they've always had that, but the positive was that you got to cast spells on a 3+.
Yeah, alright.
So
I don't know, man. I've
you
played against
casted
Thousand
on a
Suns
3+.
twice, and they never seem to have any problems. Just like, boom, I've got all these spells, suck my dick. Um, you know, because you've got so many fucking dice. Like you can just have one unit that's like, oh, the enemy is definitely going to try and push these guys. I'll just put all these unreasonable buffs on them, and then like,
That can happen. That can
yeah,
definitely happen. It can snowball. You can get like a
that's what's happened to
really.
me.
But here's the thing, right? It's luck based. It's not like what the Mechanicum gets with your Cyber Theurgy, where you've got access to a whole table. With Psychers, it's randomized. Like one game, you might get Iron Arm, and it's like a whole fucking Terminator unit that's like Strength 7, Toughness 7 base. It's like, oh, that's fucking terrifying, right? But then next game, you might get something like fucking, I don't know, you might end up with like a Primaris power or something for whatever reason, or Terrify, for example. It's like, oh, well, one of your units, Tim, has to take a leadership check. Like, you know, like the power level between the abilities is just off, like completely fucking broken because one is insanely good and
Yeah,
one's
but
insanely mediocre.
So you're saying if you could choose, like you'd prefer to choose, would you have to write down the spell and pay points for the better ones?
Well, that's the way it used to work.
Because I don't mind that, man. If it was just like
I
you
wouldn't
buy these
mind.
3
Yeah,
spells,
I
they
wouldn't mind
cost
that.
20 points, 20 points, 10 points.
But you'd have to rejig the whole system. Like again, Cyber Theurgy is pretty like easy how it works, pretty
Yeah,
clear cut.
yeah. There's only like 5 things.
Whereas it's literally just like, oh yeah, basically roll 2 dice, don't fuck up on your roll. That's all it boils down to, and then it's just resolve the effect. With psychic powers, it's like you got to roll to see what power you get. You got to roll to see how many powers you can cast that turn, like how many power dice you get, and that same amount of dice that the other guy gets to dispel. But it's like Cyber Theurgy doesn't have a counter, whereas Psychers, it's like, oh well, even this guy who doesn't have any anti-psyker in his army somehow still gets to deny the witch. You know,
I think you should be able to choose before the game, but you have to. It's in as part of your list, and it's
yeah,
10.
that would make sense.
And imagine
that's
this,
the way it was for years.
dude.
That was literally what it was up until fucking 6th, 7th edition.
Yeah. So all you have to do is add that line, and then you add a line that says the spell each thing you can buy 1 per level, and you get the basic one for free or whatever you get now.
But the problem is they've also dialed the spells off the charts, mate. Like,
no, you're paying, but you pay 10 points per warp charge. So if it's a 3rd level spell, it's plus 30 points. If it's a 1st level spell, it costs 10 points. Boom, that'd be like easy to do. Super easy to do.
But the thing is, like, some of the spells now are just ridiculous. Like something like Iron Arm would be insane if you went back to like 3rd or 4th edition 40k. It's like doing that. Whereas like the spells back then were just like, you know, like an AP2 4-shot bolt gun, for example.
Yeah, you can still just drop a Medusa on
that was considered a decent power. Or the ability to make someone make an initiative check, and if they failed, they got turned into a chaos spawn, and you cast on like enemy.
Yeah,
characters.
but
it's like that's a cool ability. Whereas like finding a way to do like the points and that to make these spells work, because there's just so many that are just fucking baller, and it's like, you know, they're the only ones people are ever going to go for.
Yeah, but Maka, in Heresy, it's so much easier to kill a toughness 4, 2 wound, whatever armor plus save guy with a plasma team or a fucking Medusa or a like plasma cannon team. Like, you just got so many more weapons to deal with fucking psychers than normal 40k, right? Like, it's so much more dangerous.
I just like to err on the side of caution, though, because psychers are already a phase that a lot of people don't enjoy being on the receiving end of, because they just don't know what the fuck is happening most of the time.
Yeah, and when you're talking about Thousand Suns, that's definitely the case. Like, they just have so many dice, you're just like, okay, whatever. Like, I get 4 dice, you have 17 dice. Like, okay, cool, so that unit's unkillable. So, They're re-rolling all their saves and also their toughness, whatever, and then 2 wounds each, and blah 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 blah. But I mean, like you said, there's downsides. Like you were just talking about how it sucks when your characters die and that sort of shit. Although it doesn't matter when your characters are unkillable because they're in a unit of fucking unkillable segment, I guess. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
but you say that, Tim. What happens when you roll a fucking perils check and you roll a 1?
Oh yeah, but you never
Or
do
Health
it. You just
Praise
don't
or-
do it. You just don't
Oh,
fucking
yeah,
roll
I
perils,
have.
man.
I
Okay.
have.
Well, maybe you have,
take
but
arcane litanies. You take arcane litanies so that once the game doesn't happen, like you remember Geigenhive, the first fucking spell I cast that game I played Spence to seal the portal. The very first spell I cast sucked a fucking librarian straight into the portal. Like
Well, you
that shit
need to
happens,
try not to
man.
do
It
that.
happens more than you'd expect.
yeah. Okay. Well, the 2 times that I played against Thousand Suns, both times they were just like boom, like never rolled a double 1 or a double 6 or whatever the fuck it is. Maybe it's both. Is it
Hey,
both?
sometimes you get away with it, but again, if you're casting and the more dice you roll, the better the chance. Like, yeah, it's a 1 in 12 chance on 2d6.
Yeah, but that's not their problem. Their problem isn't
3d6, 4d6. Like, it starts
Yeah.
becoming very likely to happen.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
that's why
I
we
guess
have
so.
arcane
I've just
litanies. You
never
basically
seen
get one get out of jail free card that you've got to pay 10 points for, and it's like you ignore the first perils on that model.
it. Yeah.
It costs you 10 points. So it's like you're guaranteed to just take that war gear. It's like a no-brainer option.
Mm.
You know, like fucking, like taking half the fucking options on Mechanicum. It's just no-brainer. You're like, why wouldn't I be taking this? Like, oh, I have access to a cyber familiar? Okay.
Yeah. I guess so.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, I love my Thousand Suns. I always have. It's, again, in the background here, the some of the stuff I've done for my Legion. Yeah. They've got this horrible thing going on where the power levels are starting to get all over the shop. And it's like the Dark Angels Legion rules, I feel, are actually some of the weaker Legion rules. But then, like, the units coming out are just, like, fucking baller. Like, compare the fucking Knight Cenobium with, like, the Phoenix Terminators and with the revision they did to their rules.
Mm.
Have you seen that last special rule they have in the revision?
No. Which one? I haven't seen the. I don't. I just remember
Okay.
seeing that they
I'll-
had.
I'll read it out to you, right?
Okay.
So it's the Breaker of Witches. This model may reroll all to hit and to wound rolls in close combat when attacking an enemy unit affected by a blessing psychic power or an enemy unit with either the Psyker or Brotherhood of Psykers /Sorcerers /Psychic Pilot /Demon or Demon of the Ruin Storm special rule.
Oh.
So if they play Demons of the Ruin Storm or Thousand Suns, they basically get rerolled to hit and to wound against the entire army.
But it's only those Terminators there, right?
Yeah, it's only those Terminators for now.
So
You don't know
far,
what other
so
units
far.
going to have. But these guys have those instant kill fucking swords. What's going to
Yeah.
happen when just one squad of this plays against the Ruinstorm Demon Army?
Yeah, they're gonna run a train.
that's the fucking rape train.
Well,
That's
think
like
about
the
it as
classic
well.
rape
Like
train.
demons, what are they gonna do if you send in a monstrous creature? It's just gonna get fucking mercilessly hacked apart. And if you send in just waves of the basic bitches, they're just they're just gonna fucking
you're not even
evaporate
going to
as
slow
well.
them down because
Well, and
it's
you-
instant deathing, so it doesn't matter that all your stuff has 2 wounds. They're just instant deathing you.
Well, the basic-
you're not getting saves. You're going to get involves.
Yeah, the
maybe.
basic guys only have like rending. Like if you give them rending, then they might be decent, but you've still got a 4+ save against those rends. So they're just gonna like, because that's the thing with the demons. If you haven't given them rending, they're fucking useless unless they're a monstrous creature, and a
That's
monstrous
right.
and a
That's
monstrous
why I
creature
advocate
against them.
Rending is the go-to. On
Yeah, you should just give
your
rending to
basic
everyone.
creatures.
Like yeah. Well, think about it. Like
On the monstrous creatures, it's shred,
dude,
so you get to reroll to wounds.
yeah, Galvorback have rending built into them, and they're like a demon thing. Like a marine doesn't usually have rending when he's possessed by a demon.
That's
He
the
gets
funny thing.
rending.
Like Demons of Ruinstorm are one of the strongest armies in 30k. If your opponent doesn't fuck over your deployment, right? Those flying monstrous creatures are just a pain in the dick to deal with. You just can't deal with them because they're just too tough. They're not like a flyer where it's like, oh, you can get one penetrating hit and the thing just bursts into flames.
The Shreks.
Or it's got 2 hull points and, Yeah, whereas like a demon shrike or a greater demon, like the greater demon lord or whatever they are, not the HQ choice, the higher level HQ choices. Any of those things with wings are just fucking vector striking, and they're just like killing fucking things left, right, and center. Meanwhile, you still have to deal with the whole rest of their army, right? It's a huge pain in the dick because no one has enough anti-aircraft to bring down half a dozen monstrous creatures that are flying. Just it's not a thing. Even people who bring like Xiphons like me, at best you could do maybe 4 wounds, very best, you know. But it's like all of a sudden that army rolls up against this, and it's like, yeah, they're going to make a mess of some of the backline units like tactical squads and stuff. But if someone's running these guys in Pride of the Legion, which is one of the bundles Forge World sells, it's a Pride of the Legion um, bundle of Dark Angels, and it's like Knight Cenobium, Leviathan, Praetor. It's like a Pride of the Legion Knight Cenobium force is just going to be devastating because.
Or calls to the Hydra Alpha Legion Force. Lol.
Yeah, well, because the Order's Exemplars is built into the unit, it's got nothing to do with being Dark Angels. Like, you can infiltrate these fuckers. Just infiltrate them and just have them hanging around the fucking Ruinstorm portal and just bash the head in of any demon that walks out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, how come this unit gets this for free and they're only 10 points more than a Phoenix Terminator squad, right? Meanwhile, like a 1,000 Sun player is like, yeah, I have to pay 75 points to upgrade my fucking Praetor who already costs like 200 points to a fucking Psyker. And these guys just have like an instant inbuilt hard fucking counter. So it's like, what's going to happen? We're going to see an escalation where the 1,000 Suns players are like, okay, I'll send my Praetor nowhere near that unit, but now I'm going to bring like 2 Sicker and Arcuses just to fucking annihilate that unit.
But Sekhmet Terminators, equal numbers. Equal points.
Okay, well, these guys get rerolled to hit and wound against the Sekhmet.
Yeah, but the Sekhmet are also just going to kill them with their fists.
Overwatch.
But the Sekhmet will still just kill them with their fists, though, right? Oh, yeah, they get to Overwatch, I guess, as well. But your sixes, you need sixes. You're fishing for sixes. So, I mean, but it's 2 shots each. Fuck, dude, it's so fucking harsh. Like, even
if it's Zone Mortalis, Overwatch at full ballistic skill. Yeah, think about it.
Curls of the Hydra.
Kennedy's guys is 20, Assault 2 ignores cover, Strength 4, AP 2, rerolling to hit rolls.
Yeah,
so in Zone Mortalis, this unit's just fucking.
Yeah, they've only got AP 3 swords, but for free you can just swap them out for a fucking Thunderhammer.
Yeah, just go like 50-50. Just 5 dudes with sword, 5 with hammers. So the hammer dudes can just break anything, and the fucking swords will just instant kill like all the fucking chaff.
How many points is that there? It's like 475 points.
No, it's less than that.
40 points each, right?
460 points, I think.
Are they 40 points each, though?
No, 450 points. I just did the maths in my head.
What? Yeah.
Unless you give digital lasers to the sergeant, then it's 460. And you want a grenade harness, so 465. And you can give the grenade harness stasis grenades as well.
Oh, I do. Can you give the Preceptor dude rad grenades if you're in a Ravenwing army? Is that right?
I don't see why you couldn't.
Because he's a character?
Or if you're in Shattered Legion and you're with Death Guard and they're running Reaping and Pride of War, they can give the sergeant...
Yeah, now, are these dudes... I haven't seen the latest PDF, but are these dudes... some of them saying that they're all characters now? Is that the case?
Yeah, I think it is.
Hold on, I'm just trying to bring up the rules.
Rule.
Because they definitely weren't the first revision. Have they changed it to...
Then the infantry have the character rule, yeah.
So they've changed it. Because I'm sure the first edition, only the character was a character, right? The Preceptor was a character.
Yeah, so what's the big thing is that like they're not scoring. I guess that's their one downside. They're not a scoring unit. But again, if you're running Pride, and I mean if you're running Deathwing, for example, this is just like, okay.
Oh, you're right. They don't have
these guys as troops.
Oh, dude, you're right. They don't have Implacable Advance, but hashtag probably an error, right? All other Terminators except for Siege Tyrants have Implacable Advance. Surely these guys are meant to have Implacable Advance too, right? Surely that's just got to be a mistake.
No, not all. not all
They
Terminators have
do.
implacable
No,
advance.
except for
No, the
Siege
White
Stones.
Stars don't.
What? Oh yeah, because
Yeah,
they're like,
ones.
because they're
Yeah,
fucking
they're
destroyer version.
Suicide
Yeah,
Squads.
they're suicide guys. Like, Red
And
Butchers
Red
don't either.
Butchers don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, same deal though.
but
Suicide Squad.
every other Terminator and almost every elite choice, like all the Seekers, they give it to Seekers, they give it to fucking uh, Legion, fucking whatever they're called, Legion veterans. They've given it to basically like every and most of the special units as well all
Yeah,
have
but
it. So
you know what you
surely
do?
these guys are meant to have it. Why
That,
wouldn't
that's
they?
so fucking.
Why wouldn't these guys have it if they're exemplars?
You know what you do, Tim? Yeah, attach a knight fucking errant to the unit.
No, you don't even need to because they've obviously left it out, right?
I don't know.
I'm actually being serious.
Okay.
I'm not even
So
being I'm
here's
not even being
a weird
ironic to just
rule
be
for
like
you,
a
right?
fucking
So on their dedicated transport, the unit numbering 5 models may take a Land Raider Phobos as a dedicated transport, or a Spartan if numbering 10 models or fewer. So the way that reads is, as long as you have 5 models in the unit, because it's less than 10, you can take a Spartan as your dedicated transport.
Spartan, yeah.
Yeah, you may take a Spartan as a dedicated transport if numbering 10 models or fewer.
Yeah. So, yeah. Dude, they're totally meant to have implacable advance. I bet you.
Probably. But it's a weird thing because these basically, like, all the guys in the unit are basically champions. Like Legion fucking, like, Centurion stats. But the Auto Preceptor, the Squad Sergeant, is literally the same stats as a Centurion Consul. Just he has 1 less attack stock. Like, his weapon skill 6, 2 wounds. He's initiative 4, sorry, not initiative 5. But, he's in Cataphracti armor. Yeah. And he's way cheaper in points than a fucking champion Consul. So it's like, don't take champion when you got this guy. Fucking spend the points on something else. But again, it doesn't matter if they're not scoring because Pride of the Legion will make them scoring. And in Deathwing armies, this unit's going to be fucking ballers.
Yeah.
Especially once you got like apothecaries and stuff hanging around with it, making it just fucking infinitely better. Or Derrideos with automatic Pavaces to give them better invul saves, and adding more plasma fire to the fucking meta. Like,
yeah. Well, I just posted in. So there's the biggest heresy group is called Crusade and Heresy on Facebook, and I just posted in there a link to the rules, and I'm like, surely the Snobium meant to have implacable advance. Almost every other Terminator and elite choice has it. So we'll see what people say. I think it should. I mean, it just makes the fucking unit a lot better, but like, it makes way more sense, right? Why would like World Eaters normal Terminators have implacable advance, but these dudes who are meant to be like King Shit a Fuck Mountain wouldn't have it? Why wouldn't they have it? Like they can't.
Hey,
like when they get to the fucking
guys,
PC, they
guys
can't.
Are so King Shit a Fuck Mountain that they can Overwatch and Cataphracti armor because they have superlative skill.
Yeah, they do have superlative skill. So how come their superlative skill doesn't extend to pressing eject on a CD drive and putting a CD in a pocket? Right? Like, even normal Terminator can do that.
It's got me fucked, man. It's got me fucked.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably just an omission.
It just needs a point increase. I mean, it's fine. It's fine that it's got all this baller equipment. I just think, like, 275, only 45 points of Terminator. It's like only 15 points more than normal Terminator. You're getting a weapon that's worth more than, like, the stock weapon is 20 points. You know? And then you've got all these crazy special rules on top of it. Like, Stubborn's a decent rule. Adamantium Will's a decent rule. And then getting the Orders Exemplar, where you can get, like, all these crazy, like, rerolling to wounds, rerolling to hits, all these other... And you're getting that awesome fucking wrist gun. It's like, how is this only 15 points more than a normal Terminator? Oh, and you get the benefits of Cataphracti armor for, like, saving, but you still get to, like, Overwatch and shit. I don't know. Just
so okay, well, so how does
275 is fucking cheap.
Yeah. So how does it, like? I'm dying to know what your explanation is. So how does it go from the other unit we talked about, the fucking Spiculus thing? Oh no, not the Spiculus thing, the Graviton thing. How does it, like? Those are the last 2 releases. So the Graviton thing, which is so weak sauce and just like, why though? .jpg, and and then the Knights of Nobium, which came just before them, which are just like out of fucking control. Like, how does it happen? What the fuck? Why are they like? Why are they just like everything was pretty much the same, man.
Crazy,
Even when Fire Drakes came out, Fire Drakes are really good, but they're not like people weren't just like wow Fire Drakes.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, right?
Like they did with the Cenobians.
I considered them overpowered, especially with the ability to attach a Primus Medicaid. The thing is, since then, you have things like the Sicker and Arcus, which is just like a hard counter to units like Fire Drakes. Because it's like, I can move away faster than you can close the distance, and I can instant kill you, and I'm AP2, and I can do it at a really long range. Whereas like the Aquator Bombard is like, they're trying to release this new unit, and it's just so middling. It's like, it doesn't have enough secondary guns. Like a Sicker and Venator at least has 3 heavy bolters, you know? So it's like, if that main gun goes down, that awesome neutron laser, so you can still lay down a lot of fucking heat with your support weapons, right? Whereas this thing's like, if you fire either of your main weapons, everything else is snap shooting on the vehicle. But even then, at best, you've only got 6 heavy bolter shots. It's just not enough supporting firepower, so it's got no versatility as a unit, in my mind. Whereas, it's like, if you made the spicular missiles just work like a fucking standard bombard, it's like a strength 7 AP3, 24-inch range, you can keep all those stats, right? But give it the barrage rule and make it that it's got like pinning and stuff like that. You know, bring back some of those rules so that they actually come into play for once.
Like, why didn't just make it a fucking rad weapon? Like,
well, you'd have a bit of fun with it.
AP3 fucking Flashbane, boom, done. It's a sinister fucking device that like slays living shit. Like, why fuck around with this?
It stays AP4, right, instead of AP3, because AP3 is just too common. There's just way too much anti-power armor in the game already, and it's like, if you keep this at AP3, it's just competing with the Whirlwind Scorpius. Make it so
it's
that
shorter range than the Whirlwind Scorpius, though.
Strength 7 AP4, but give it a rule that like for every model it hits, it generates 2 wounds. So it really rewards you for hitting like a heap of models. And actually, like, you know, because it's meant to be this cluster warhead. So if you actually hit a cluster of troops, let it actually fucking, you know, or just like if you hit 5 models, it creates 10 wounds on the squad. If you hit more than 5 models, it's 15 automatic wounds on the squad. You know, something like that, right? So it has its own unique special rule, but it doesn't become an auto include. But you might want to take it because you're like, oh, well, that's a really good anti-horde unit. Whereas like the Scorpius will still be a really good anti-marine unit, so they'll have their own place. And with the Graviton Charge Cannon, I would not make it a Gravflux Bombard because that weapon is fucking busted. It's meant to be an anti-vehicle unit and an anti-tank weapon. That's like all the fluff for it, and it's just the best anti-infantry gun in the fucking game. I'd keep it as like a Grav Cannon, but you need to like get rid of the ordnance rule, and you need to give the unit, make it like cheaper, like 120 points with a regular Grav Cannon built into it, and give it the option of taking a Pintle Heavy Bolter. Do those things and you will fix it completely, and people will be like, oh, I have situations I would want this for. But if you don't do those changes, it's going to be one of those things you never see.
What do you think about it having the heavy rule? Like, it seems like, why though?
It's useless. With the ordnance rule, there's no point having heavy. It's like Lehman Russes, they all have the heavy rule. It's like, oh, ordnance weapon, oh, everything else is snap shooting anyway.
Yeah, if you could move, if it counted as a super heavy in that you could move and still fire all your shit, then that'd be good. But it's like, no, it's just slower, no other extra shit. It's just a restriction. Like, it doesn't give you anything, right? It doesn't give you any benefit? It doesn't, right?
No bonus, no.
Yeah, so what the fuck is the point?
So heavy rule on most vehicles is you get to fire all your weapons if you move 6 inches at full ballistic skill. But, because it's got an ordnance weapon, if you fire an ordnance weapon, you must snap shoot all other weapons on the vehicle no matter what order you declare firing them in. So you can't cheese it and go, I'm firing my heavy bolters, now I'm firing my ordnance weapon. They very specifically wrote it that way.
So when in 5th ed, why was heavy good? Because I used to have it on my
Because it didn't, ordnance just meant you got like the rerolls to pen in 5th ed. It didn't mean that you had to snap shoot. Snap shooting wasn't a thing.
because I had it on my on a
It meant you
monolith.
could move and fire all the guns, which made Lehman Russes back then really,
No, I had it on a
really
monolith.
strong.
It was on a monolith. It was skimmer heavy. That's what a monolith is, right? You can only move 6 inches, but I could
So
fire.
you can move and fire fucking everything at full ballistic skill.
Yeah, and I could use the particle
Whereas-
whip. Kabam! Yeah. Fucking that was the fucking man. I love the monolith. I only ever had one, but back in the day, back when I was playing 40k, back in fifth ed or whatever the fuck it was, fourth ed, fifth ed. If I could have afforded like back when I was a fucking teenager, basically, if I could have afforded 3 monoliths, I would have definitely done that. That would be so sick. Just 3 monoliths, just going forward in a row. But yeah, I don't know. You're right. Like the heavy is just useless on it. I just don't get it, man. Like I like the fucking idea for it, but I would literally just add it as an option in the artillery list, where you've got 0 to 1, and you can have 3 Medusas or 3 fucking basilisks. I would just add them in there, or up to 3 Aquators, blah blah blah. Give them fucking just decent, like just normal weapons that make fucking sense. And I reckon more people would buy them, surely.
They've got machine spirit, so you can't like machine spirit a heavy bolter off, or fire different targets with a sub-quadrant of these. They're just all stuck firing at the same fucking thing.
Yeah, so with artillery, you can imagine why.
Why would I
this,
take this? Why would I take this over just graviton rapiers? Especially because this is in the fucking heavy support slot, the most hotly contested slot in all of fucking every list in Heresy.
Yeah, no machine spirit is rough as well. That's fucking retarded.
And here's the thing, I brought it up on the Saber. Why is Armored Ceramite 20 points on a fucking rear armor 10 vehicle? Like, same with the Saber. It's like an armor 10 fucking vehicle, and it's got to pay a 20-point upgrade. It's like the melters are still glancing you on 2s. Like, why is this a thing? Like, Armored Ceramite, 5 points. 5 points, no more. Even extra armor at 10 points is still rough because it's snap shooting, right? So you can still snap fire and move the vehicle, but it's an ordnance and template, so you can't fire the vehicle anyway. So why would you want the extra armor? It will only let you snap fire your fucking sponsons. So see, none of these rules make sense.
Yeah, the Armored Ceramite is really
show and tell me that I'm just being salty for pointing this out.
The Armored Ceramite makes no sense. Yeah. But that's the thing, Macca, though. Like, yeah, you're pointing it out, but like someone's got to fucking point it out. Like the reason that I like listening to you pointing out problems of things is so that I can go away and think about it, and then if it ever comes up in a game, I can go, oh, I knew about this problem because I heard it on the fucking outer circle, not the inner circle. I heard on the outer circle, so I'm fucking prepared to deal with it, and like I know how to deal with it like a fucking adult now because I've fucking had a chance to think about it. And I mean, when shit comes up in a game, like if you hadn't pointed it out and it ever came up in a fucking game, people would be like, I don't know, roll a d6 for it or something like that, you know. But a lot of these things we're pointing out are just sort of like weird, like. I wonder how many of those Aquatar things they'd sell. If they just had like...
Well, it depends. The people in England just love it. Like, they'll just lap it up.
Yeah, but if they...
Well, the thing is, though, I'm not always right either. Like, I always think I'm right, but I generally am prideful enough that I will not open my mouth if I think I'm wrong. You know, if I'm opening my mouth in the first place because I think I'm onto something. But I'm happy to take feedback on board. Like, I had a disagreement with Tom Gould at... shout out to Tom.
Ooh, did it turn into a brutal fist fight?
How their rules work with Centurion, where it's like you have to take a minimum of 1 infantry unit for every 500 points. I'm like, well, that's not fair on White Scars because all our buffs revolve around our fucking bikes, which are the core of our army.
But
you're forcing us to take infantry, whereas some like World Eaters or Blood Angels are all about the infantry, so they're getting nothing but buffs because you're taking the balls away from everyone else.
No. It's meant to keep out biker armies. It also keeps out.
That's the thing.
You're
taking the balls out of that.
Yeah.
Army.
So fucking just play something else. Like play one of the other like 60 factions. Like it also
hard when you're at an event with that faction.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it also keeps out Legio Cybernetica. Hey, wait. We made it where it also keeps out Legio Cybernetica. It keeps out Night Houses. Keeps out all the fucking nasty shit. Okay, continue.
Yeah, but it targets 1 legion out of 18 unfairly. But
well, you don't get Dark Angels
I played it.
by coming in. You can
That's
play
the
White
thing.
Scars without.
I actually tried Tom's rules, and you know what? They worked.
So you reckon
It was fine.
White Scars are unplayable without having 2 biker squads?
No, that's the opposite of what I just said. I said what I did was I gave Tom the benefit of the doubt, and I tried it.
Okay.
I played them.
Oh, so you previously thought that?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I should have let you finish that story. Okay.
Yeah.
You fucking idiot!
That's the thing. I'm not always right. That's the thing. But
yeah.
I'm the sort of guy who I'm like, okay, benefit of the doubt here. Tom's a switched on guy. I'm not just going to argue with the man. I disagree with him, but I'll fucking try it and put my fucking money where my mouth is. I tried. I'm like, you know what? They're fine. It works. Yeah, they're still fucking strong, even with that handicap of having to take them. Because, like, yeah, you can still take bikes in the army, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, you're just not taking as many bikes. That's fine.
Yeah.
So
it's meant to keep out. Like, in a 2,000-point game, you don't want to have someone with 3 units of artillery. Or you don't want to have someone with, like, more than 1 Leviathan. Or you know, you just taking out all the shit that easily fucking kills other big marine units, like all the ordnance and all that other bullshit, except for you're leaving in stuff like heavy support units, who then become the stars of the show when they fucking gun down like 18 fucking marines.
Yeah, my big problem with it was the fact that like someone like Blood Angels, who I've played in Centurion, are just so fucking broken strong, because all the stuff that would normally hard counter them, like a lot of vehicles and you know, like you don't have access to them. And so all of a sudden they're getting these deep strikes off with like fucking.
You can only snapshot at them.
War and stuff, and you're just fucked, because they've got all the fucking positives of what Centurion offers. They're like, you know, because it's just all about the infantry, and they're just
favors their style of combat, maybe.
Yeah, you know. So whereas with like White Scars, it's kind of the opposite. Like you're taking away their tools. But when I played it, I was like, no, you know what? He's onto something here. I don't feel like I can't win my games. I've just got to play smarter with my lists. You know, like I played it against Kyogen, against his Blood Angels. I was like, I had way less bikes than I normally would, and I also took less skimmers, because that was another one. There was only 1 skimmer you were allowed in their Mournival rules. So I ended up with like a couple of attack squads and a couple of Terminator, like 5-man Terminator squads and stuff, and that's how I got like my 4 infantry into the army, because I only had, you know, the models I brought with me to the event. But I was like, okay, make a new list up on the fly, if I can try it out. And they were kicking all the goals in that game. But to be fair, James's list was not optimized at all. He was just taking what was fun, whereas I sort of had to just play with what I had. So it was probably a bit unfair on him, but he's a good sport about it. So, yeah, my point was, of course, I'm not always right, but I'm willing to try these things out. And I can look, though, because I've been playing the game so long, and there's a lot of people out there like this, like me, that we can just look at the rules and just go, this is good, this is bad, this is broken, this is not, within 2 minutes of looking at a sheet. And then I look at Forge and I'm like, you're the professional dudes who are paid to do this for a living, and you don't have that ability? Why? And I mean, mistakes will happen, right? Like little things here and there, but not fucking every week me having to constantly say, why is this way? Why is this way? Why is this way? Why is this unit armed with this? Oh wait, now it's armed with this, but you didn't tell anyone that you changed the rules overnight, you know? Like it happened with the fucking Night Lords, it happened with the fucking Dark Angels, it happened with this fucking Arctor Bombard. That's 3 for 3, you know?
Maybe there's some kind of office politics or something.
Maybe, I don't know, but is there any accountability?
All right, hey, I'll tell you. So I posted in that Crusade and Heresy group. I've got a bunch of replies already. So one person said Crimson Paladins and Ebon Kashig don't have it either. Shape of things to come. And I was like, oh, I guess Ebon Kashig, you can understand they're a suicide unit. And I said interesting. RE Crimson Paladins, so they don't have implacable. Interesting. Chris Page says, I mean, it's not the biggest problem Paladins have, but for a Terminator unit that's meant to protect places, it kind of sucks. Yeah, so why wouldn't they have implacable? So man, like they just need to errata this shit. So I guess if people don't tell them, they don't fucking realize. But you need to errata this stuff. You need to errata. Surely, yeah, okay. What's he talking about when he says they're not? It's not the biggest problem paladins have. Crimson Paladins not good, are they?
Crimson Paladins are pretty mediocre because they need to be
Okay.
outnumbered, but for their their special rules to kick off.
Yeah,
And
but they're in
not very
Terminator
good
armor.
special
Yeah.
rules. But
So,
the thing is, because they're
yeah.
Terminators, they're bulky. So,
Yeah.
Like you need units of at least 11 models
Mm.
against 5 of them to start kicking them off. But
Mm.
then you add a character to the unit, for example, which you normally would. Well, then all of a sudden you need 13 models. So, and they're not very you compare them to the other two Blood Angels units. This is the thing. Like I've done it before. I'm like, oh, this is broken. Reference Angels Tears, and people are like, oh, fuck off. Dawnbreakers is shit. It's like, sorry, whatever the fucking the Terminators are called. But I'm like, no, they need to be improved. But this other thing
Crimson
over here
Paladins
needs to be debuffed. Same as with Dark Angels. I'm like, these acid bolters are bullshit. Like they're just so good. It's just an auto take, right? Things like that just shouldn't exist. You shouldn't have an auto take that's that good with just no negatives. Like there's no gets hot. The range is just as good as a normal heavy bolter. It's just and 50% of the time you're ignoring marine saves, and fucking 40% of the time or something you're ignoring fucking Terminator saves. Like that's all win, and you're winning everything in the game on twos. Like that needs to be fucking nerfed. But Dark Angels rules as a whole need to be buffed. Right? I'm not just trying to fucking take away and fucking punch people in the dick and go, how dare you have nice things? I'm like, I want the game to be better for everyone, because at least the good thing about those older legions, fucking Death Guard, Sons of Horus, that kind of, you kind of see everything. You kind of see everything they have available fielded. You'll see Grievers, you will see Justirian. Not common, but everyone will have one unit of each in their armies. You'll see Death Shroud, you'll see Grave Wards, you'll see Red Butchers. More rarely that you see Rampages. You see Phoenix Terminators, you see Palatine Blades. Whereas with the newer legions coming out, it's not like that. People are only taking the real king shit units, like Thousand Suns players taking Sekhmet. Because Kennetai Blade Occult is just fucking really expensive dudes in power armor. It's like, yeah, they got lots of killiness, but they're so easy to kill. I'm still not gonna take them because I'm just feeding fucking 500 points to whoever I'm playing. So it's like, if something is not great, revisit it. Things that are too strong, tone them down. Like I said, maybe give Gets Hot special rule to those acid rounds, because it's like, what if the acid round explodes in the barrel or something? It could be bad for the dude on the fucking bike, right?
Yeah, if it was just a 4+ poison, like a lot of other poisons, why not give it Fleshbane if you're gonna make it 2+ poison? But if it was just 4+ poison and D6 AP D6, it'd be fine. Or if it was just one shot. Do you remember that there used to be? I don't know if you remember second ed, but you could choose to fire a heavy boulder, 2 sustained fire dice, or you could fire, and I mean, this is in second edition, and it was the Mechanicum cooked up this bioacid for shooting Tyrannid creatures.
Yep. It was the same. They had the same thing in third edition. The Tyrannic War Veterans in the fourth edition Ultramarines Codex had it.
Yeah, so it's basically the same thing. Yeah,
you could fire heavy bolter as normal, or you could fire a small blast. In those editions,
dude, just make this, instead of firing the heavy bolters 3 shots, you fire 1 shot. It's 2+ poison, and it's AP2.
Again, this is all things I've referenced. And another thing I referenced is I was like, how come they only get that weird half weapon skill buff on swords? It's like they're based off knights. They're going to be using hammers, halberds. Just give them a fucking buff on close combat weapons. It's like Blood Angels get fucking +1 on all their to wound rolls in close combat. Giving Dark Angels half a weapon skill point on close combat weapons is not going to break the fucking game.
Yeah, they should get it on maces and hammers for sure. Power maces and thunder hammers.
Yeah,
at least.
So
maybe not on fists. Don't put it on fists.
I got a funny one for you. So you've posted it, right? Asking about the
chain fist.
About the objective capturing for your nice Cenobium.
Yeah.
I asked people on my video talking about weird fuck ups and that Forge World's done, to give me some of their favorite examples. And I got one here from an Oliver Todd. Sanguinius's wings give him fleet, which the Primarch rule already gives him, and the Blood Angel's Rite of War Day of Revelation forces any jump infantry to deep strike, and they must do it turn 1. And you must have jump infantry as your compulsory troops in HQ. But nothing else gets it, so you can't take any drop pods or anything in the army, meaning you're guaranteed to lose your compulsory HQ and your jump infantry turn 1, due to the fact you have absolutely zero support on the table because the Rite of War was copy-pasted over from Book 6. It clearly should have been that you may choose to perform your deep strikes turn 1, and they automatically arrive if you choose to do so.
Mm.
Furthermore, this might not be a genuine error, but seems more of an oversight or just a general issue. Sanguinius loses to gullible rowboat on average. In fact, he loses to most Primarchs in combat and all at range. Considering he's the third if Magnus takes the useless upgrade, most expensive Primarchs points-wise, and in the fluff is realistically the strongest in combat, this is fucked. And
oh, is that true though?
On the charge, Sanguinius is a fucking monster.
Yeah, he's a fucking murderer, and he makes up for it.
And did do the maths. Anything after turn 1, Sanguinius is like Corax level in combat. He just gets fucking murdered.
Your Corax isn't that bad either. You can strike a strength 9.
Corax isn't terrible, but
I don't know.
Again,
like I feel like
Primarchs out there.
Sanguinus like hits
so
like
his big thing on like the charge is he gets all these buffs.
Yeah, he's like strength 9, and he's got like 6 or 7 attacks.
And he's like he's
with hatred,
like 9 attacks on the charge.
And he rerolls to hit or something.
But he loses all that on turn 2, so it goes down to just like a strength 6 Primarch that hits.
No, he's strength 7. I'm pretty sure.
4s.
I think his spear gives him +1 strength at least, right? +2 strength on charge.
It's a spear. Spears give you bonuses on the charge, so and it gives him like rampage on the charge.
So you're better off taking the shred sword, the shred AP2 sword.
Yeah, if you're in a prolonged combat, the shred sword. But if you're gonna alpha strike shit, you take the spear.
The spear looks better. The spear
the spear looks way better than that fucking derpy sword.
You can launch it like a knight and just fucking destroy it with the spear as well. Like it's such a fucking harsh move doing that.
It is funny though. These wings give him fleet, and he already has it because he's a Primarch. But yeah, I just thought I'd read that one out because it was particularly amusing, and you do see a lot of that sort of weird overlap of rules. Like fear, I was talking about it the other day. Like fear is a useless special rule, so it may as well either completely rework how it works or get rid of it.
No, you're wrong. Like fear is one of those rules where it just like every now and then it just fucks somebody really badly, and like so many and I think it functions the way it should. Like sometimes the enemy is more terrifying, sometimes it's not. Like playing Mechanicum, where you have a whole bunch of monstrous creatures that cause fear, you would be fucking shocked how many times people fail fucking fear checks, especially on like Terminators, generally like units that have a general in it or something. So the combination of fear and blind from all your photon weapons is really, really good. Like you'd be surprised. Like someone was just telling me
blind is its own thing, but fear itself, it only goes off about 1 in what is it? Fucking
yeah, but people always just roll like double 6s, man.
I think it is.
Yeah, people just roll double 6s all the time though, or a 5 and 6, or a 10, and they're earning a 9.
I will cite you back to that point where you said Psychers never roll double 6s earlier.
Yeah, well I don't know.
So
it's different people.
You know how you were saying that they never roll double 6s.
Well, maybe they roll a lot of 11s.
Experience, people never fail fear checks.
No, okay. So at the event I just played in, someone said maybe it was Leedham. I don't know if he's like in the channel listening to us. Yeah, it looks like he is. I think it was him who said, Mako said on his video that fear never does anything, but I had 2 squads fail fear checks against demons or something. I'm not sure if it was Leedham or someone else.
It can happen, but I think it needs to be reworded to be something like a -1 to your leadership in addition to. Like to actually have some sort of penalty tied to it, so that like if you stack on multiple fear units, like the way rag grenades, give you -1 toughness. Well, if a fear charging unit charges you, not only is it cause fear, but you're -1. So if you do lose the combat, there's more chance of you fleeing. Something like that, like how fantasy used to be your auto fled if you lost combat against a fear causing.
Or if a fear causing, yeah, exactly.
Because someone gets charged by Comrade Kurz and they're like, he's scary.
So you would
But
change it so that if
he's
you're
not that
outnumbered.
scary.
So you would change it so if you're outnumbered by a fear-causing enemy, you auto break.
Yeah, something like that.
You would change
Get
it, dude.
lucky.
Do that. I would fucking love it. That'd be the fucking greatest thing ever.
Why wouldn't you do that though? Like,
Dude, lesser
what's the
demons
point
would
of
be
having to rule
fucking.
otherwise?
Lesser demons would be like super out of control. Like those first 2 turns,
Well,
just
again,
forget
and
about.
I also do remember, like, there are whole armies like that basically will never fail. Ultramarines have essentially immune to fear. Death Guard essentially immune to fear. Uh, Salamanders and Word Bearers both get to roll 3d6 on their leadership checks.
Yeah, it's
Big
lots of
rolls,
Mechanicum shit.
basically. Right?
Solar
Lots
Ox
of Mechanicum
gets
shit.
Solar Ox gets like
Fearless.
leadership 10. And, yeah.
Exactly. Custodes immune to fear. So really, there's not that many armies that fear really works on, and those that it can work on should have some sort of buff to make it meaningful to them. Just my little 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. If you want to go ahead and do that, Fudgewell, that'd be great.
I mean, it's not the only one that, like, Soul Blaze is another one of those terrible fucking rules that it's like, oh, put a token on the unit, and at the end of the fucking shooting phase, roll a dice. On a 4+, the unit cops D6 strength 4 AP 5 hits, or D3 strength 4 AP 5 hits. And if you roll only a 3 or less, then the token goes away. It's like, why am I paying 10 points per fucking plasma cannon at 1,000 Suns Army to take that? Like,
yeah, but doesn't give you
like,
shred as well, though.
Shit. Nah, that's all it does.
Doesn't give you ace fix.
Nah, it's fucking useless. So
All
it's
right.
like,
So,
why would I ever take that rule? And the thing is though, Forgeord takes that and fear, and it charges points for them. And then you've got things like Castellax and Night Lord's army with a Praevian, and they can take trophies of judgment. So it's like they cause fear, but they're already a monstrous creature, so they already cause fear. So shouldn't a fucking monstrous creature covered in fucking skulls and human flesh be terrifying? You know, remember that real terror? You know, so that might be something they could also look at, where it's like a terror-causing unit, so monstrous creatures that inflict like a -2 leadership penalty or something. Like, that would be cool.
yeah, but people just get tired. I think people don't like it when all of their shit just runs away without doing anything.
Well, again, if you're losing
they
combat and you're outnumbered,
Yeah, they changed
then
fantasy
you're
though. Like
auto-breaking.
they changed fantasy though. Like that used to be the rule in fantasy, and they changed that because it was just so fucking savage. And then used to like if you declared a charge with a terror-causing creature on a target and they failed their check, they just auto broke as well, which is like
I'd
fucking
have
super
it
hard.
just as a -2, like, so it's just fear, just with an additional -1 penalty on the leadership is the way
Actually,
to do
a
it.
terror-causing creature
But it's
just
like,
coming within
you
6
shouldn't
inches
have
used to
one
cause.
marine. Like, you shouldn't have one tactical marine who gets lucky tying up a fucking Castellax unit for 2 turns or something. Like, okay, in theory, oh, how heroic, you know, blah blah blah. But it's like, on a gameplay level, it's just a pain in the dick for the person using the Mechanicum. You know, who's like, this I've just had terrible rolls, and that's the only reason this guy's alive, and he won't fucking break. You know, it's like, no, make it a little bit easier to break him.
I guess so. Okay, so someone else replied saying tyrants don't either. If I recall correctly, neither does Fulmentaris, and that's yeah. I'm like, well, obviously they're busy doing other shit, shooting missiles. That was Mark Jorgensen. Kevin Stefan Pierce says, I don't think any Legion-specific Terminators should have it as standard. I don't know about that. Like, just as we talked about Crimson Paladins.
I think Iron Hands ones, the Salamanders, they're definitely like, I'm holding the fucking fort
Yeah,
types.
yeah. Fire Directs should for sure.
Death Guard, they're another one who's holding the fort.
Yeah. So Andrew Bremer says, but because they are elite, they get it if you take Pride of the Legion, so it's not a huge issue. That's interesting.
Which is
Okay,
what I
cool.
said before.
But then you gotta take Pride of the fucking Legion there.
But then again, like, why wouldn't you? Especially if, like, Dark Ages is now the hard counter to Psychic and Demon armies. It's like, the Knights Cenobium are better nullificators than nullificator models are. like Leedham's in the chat. Like, ask Leedham what he fucking, like, he's listening to us right now, right? Like, ask Leedham what he thinks of fucking nullificators, because he's actually run the cunts before, and they're fucking abysmal. They've just got that really good flamer that you might get occasionally lucky with.
I just unmuted him. Are you there, Leedham? I don't think
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, let me turn you up. Yeah, tell Macro about how when you ran them and they just got fucking ruffle stomped.
Yeah, I ran them in Zone Mortalis. that Mega Zone Mortalis map that you set up, and they had no Overwatch. They had no so they
They had
just had
Toxifer
no.
and Flamers though, so you'd shelled out for Toxifer and Flamers, but then you can't
Yeah,
Overwatch
I
with them because they're
took as many
cataphractic.
of them as I could, just
Yeah.
because I thought they were really, um, that was really the core of the idea of them. And if you kind of avoid that, you're just taking fancy Terminators. But
So you didn't realize that cataphractic couldn't Overwatch?
well, I did, but I thought it wouldn't be so much of a bother. But
Not having
with
it.
with
You
the
thought
way
you'd just
that
be able to like move up and just get fuckloads of template hits, basically.
yeah, but it doesn't always work like that. And the worst thing was I was alongside some what are they called, Aquilon. Um,
Yep, the Custodes ones. With
yeah, and they had that.
flavors.
Yeah, their flamers were amazing because they could do all that extra. They could completely control the placement of their flamers. They were just massacring demons, and they were like very close to me. Um, but I'm supposed to have these guys who are these like dedicated, suicide, suicidal odds, specially trained and experienced anti-demon troops, and they're just waddling down corridors, and they just missed that special something. They need a.
Did they fight any demons though?
Yeah, we did because
And you got to reroll your
invulnerable.
invulnerable save though against all those Rens?
Yeah, well,
It didn't
I
happen?
found them very. They just got shot up. They got ripped up. I barely got to use the flamers at all,
Yeah.
if at any point.
What about the deflagrate maces?
The deflagrate maces? I thought they were surprisingly good.
Yeah, okay.
They kicked off a lot more than you would expect, and you could get good wounds through even on heavily armored troops, like Maka before, talking about how, for example, with the Bombard you could do like a 4+, but have some kind of deflagrate rule. Well, I found that kind of effect happened with the nullificator maces, that they were, even though they didn't have the AP that you would need to just flat out get through marine armor, the deflagrate would carry them across the line in a different way, and I think that they would be very interesting against militia possessed troops, demons, like different kinds of demons. If you
Just
could just
any kind of basic human person, like that you'd beat the shit out of Solar Auxilia too. Like
for example,
strength 6 fucking deflagrate with an AP4. Like every dude you kill just explodes another guy as well. Like bye.
That's where the question comes up, though: is a regular fucking Tartarus Terminator with a lightning claw a better investment for that?
Are they though?
I really felt like it was for the points and for the difficulty of placing them in your army list. I kind of felt like I was a sucker, and I feel that they could just be fiddled with a little to make them much better. And I think that starts with dealing with the problem of them being in cataphractic armor and limited the way they are.
So, did you look at the Knight Cenobium rules? How would you compare them to Nullificators with like points, special rules, war gear, that kind of thing? I think, in my opinion, the Inner Circle Knight Cenobium are fucking miles superior.
Yeah, I agree, and it makes it difficult. I think that whenever you have alternative options, they should be as appealing as anything else, but just off the beaten track. So I think that someone should be able to say, "Oh, I'm taking nullificators," and for them to be reasonably competitive, reasonably, to fit in with the narrative, to fit in with the story, and not be a kind of. I hate suckers' choices, and when you're talking about all these Terminator
What?
stuff,
You hate sucker choices? What do you mean?
yeah, where you're kind of like a fool if you take something because it sucks so hard, and you're only taking it because it's cool.
Yeah, people who take rampages, the World Eaters guys in power armor who have all those like weird Carteret weapons, but they're all kind of just crap.
Oh, all the whips,
so it's like
man.
you're better off just taking regular World Eaters with fucking chain axes.
That's possibly true.
Like I think that
I like
think
some of
that
those choices though. Like in Mechanicum, there's a bunch of those shitty choices, super
yeah,
expensive.
yeah, that's true. But there's like a place for them. I think
Mm.
that Terminators should be standardized in some way because I don't. I'm a fairly new player, and I still don't understand why there's such a disparity between different kinds of Terminators, and they're all supposed to be the elite of the elite, and very like lucky to have access to Terminator armor and superior weapons, but they're vastly different. Why isn't there an understanding of why Terminators have one wound or two?
No, yeah, there is,
Some gear
there
or other
is,
gear.
there is. Some of them are super heroic, fucking mega
They're,
motherfuckers.
they're superlative.
Yeah,
Well, no. Look
some of
at
them have superlative skills. Some are
Custodes.
more durable.
When they redid the rules for Custodes, they made the Aquilon Terminators 3 wounds instead of 2 wounds, right? To differentiate them more from regular guys. I think Aaron was talking with us in the chat the other day. Shout out to him. He got married today. He was talking about it. He's like,
Shut up.
why don't they all have 2 wounds? It's like all Terminators should just have 2 wounds, and I think personally they should all have the Void Hardened special rule, so that when you play
They
like
don't need it.
Zim or whatever, or you cop blasts, it's like you should be able to just walk through frag blast with Terminators, like
Yeah.
if Solar Auxilia in their cosmonaut suits, their Ned Kelly cosmonaut suits, have Void Hardened special rule, why don't Terminators, which are literally
Yeah.
the most like heavy duty armor based on like extreme hostile environments.
Is the Terminator suit resealable?
Yeah.
I think that's like
Okay.
part of the thing with Marines is
yeah,
like.
okay, I don't know then.
I remember in the old backstory that Terminator suits originally designed in the Dark Age of Technology as a means to inspect like reactor cores and things like that. So
Yeah,
I just
they
think
took it in
that
like the Great Crusade, and then they like blended it with power armor technology and interfaced with the Black Carapace into it, like
Yeah.
all that sort of thing, and just made it like heaps better. And that's where like Ferrus Manus and Perturabo came along, and we're trying to like pimp them out. And that's where you have like the different development stages, where you have like this just super tanky like Saturnine and Cataphracti, and then they were refining it. It was getting sleeker, where it was like Tartarus was going to be it. It was going to replace all power armor.
Yeah, I just think that there should be a kind of some kind of standardization, and then say, okay, each special kind of Terminator armor or formation has some extra bolt-on rules, and that's where the points differentiation comes from. But at their core, you obviously they're going to veterans, they're specially trained to use the armor. They've got their core proficiency.
There's different levels of veteran there.
Gear on top of that.
I think there's different tiers of veteran. And I think like the top like fucking 10% of the veterans are like the Crimson Paladins and the Fire Drakes and that sort of shit.
We know that Games Workshop isn't applying that methodology to their rules because some of those units.
So you think so you're just saying you want all elite Terminators to have 2 wounds because you have 10 what are those guys called? Siege Tyrants? Is that why? Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah, okay.
You want an extra wound for your Siege Tyrants?
Look, I just want them to think about it. Just to think about it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you won't revisit things like points values on the units at the same time, Jim. Like
And
you might
look,
go, okay, Siege Tyrants for 2 wounds. Okay, they shouldn't be 450 points for a unit now. They should be like 650 points for a unit. So
and I can complain about it, but look at what are they called? Formentari, the Ultramarine version of Siege Tyrants, the inferior copy. They, who takes them, and that's
they're ridiculously expensive. They're better if there's 10 of them, but once you start losing models, it goes downhill fast. But they're like 650 points, like I was just saying. So you don't really see them. But I mean, they're also in the same army as Invictus Suzerain, so.
Yeah.
All right. So Matt Titteron says here, I don't think they should have implacable advance. It's about battlefield role. Veterans and Terminators are likely to be deployed to take and secure objectives, whereas Inner Circle Knights are there to kill things and move on to the next target, or to provide a bodyguard for important characters. They wouldn't be deployed to hold objectives.
Yeah, I'm in with that. You know what? You know another funny one actually. Command squads. Command squads are meant to be the most elite in the fucking Legion, right?
No, no,
They're
no, 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 no,
literally
no.
all,
They're meant to be
they're
the.
all dudes.
No, they're the most elite in the company, or whatever
Okay, so
formation you're in.
Okay, so
They're not
you
the
got a
Legion.
Legion command
Yeah.
squad that's like hanging around with like the fucking Primarch, right?
Mm.
How come they can't take the Legion like particular weapons, or like Thousand Suns ones, for example, aren't psychers? And it's like, hang on a minute, these guys are like a tier above everyone else.
Yeah,
Like,
okay, so I think most people have this idea of a legion being like, oh, like, what does it say in the book? It says they had 120,000 Marines, and then they imagine, like, a parade ground with 120,000 Legion Marines, and then they're like, and this many are this guy, and this many are this, and this many are this, and this many are heavy weapon squads. Whereas, like, that's just not how it was. Like, the legions were divided up into smaller battle groups and shit. Even, like, legions like the Death Guard still had detached units and stuff like that, and then inside those legions they were broken down into different units so they could do different shit, and then they were broken down, and then so there might be like super veterans in one formation and another super veteran group in another formation. It wasn't like they just
I
all the legion fucking dudes all got together,
right? So Ultramarines can take Suzerain as a command squad. The Death Guard can take Death Shroud as a command squad, or actually they can take them as a HQ slot. The Salamanders can take Fire Drakes as a command squad. So it's like there's this weird thing where it's like some legions, the elite warriors are also able to be a command squad, but others they aren't. That's kind of the point I'm getting at here. It's like, why don't you make that a rule for everyone? Because then you get like the really ridiculous examples where like Iron Warriors can take Iron Circle on like every fucking character, and then especially in Zone Mortalis, it gets to like ridiculous levels.
Yeah, I guess.
Just it's just one of those like funny things. Like you should be able to give a banner to a squad of like Justinian or a banner to a squad of Death Shroud.
And well, that comes back to standardization.
Yeah, that's true.
Where you say, what is the baseline of each like level of troop in an army, and what are their similar stats and things like that. Like people always say, what's great about the Horus Heresy is that it's Marines fighting Marines a lot of the time, and you're
people say
this
that?
like.
Do people say that? But yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've heard that said that it's like legions against legions, and there's some similarity between them. So like, the rules have just been like built on and built on and built on and changed over the years. Like you talk about Emperor's Children, for example, being really out of step with what's going on now. So maybe they need to like revisit all that stuff.
Yeah, well, when it's 10 points cheaper for a Phoenix Terminator squad over the Knights Cenobium, the Phoenix Terminators get no shooting at all, and they've only got AP2 attacks on the charge. Their weapons are two-handed. They're only in Tartarus armor. They're only one wound each. They've only got 2 attacks each. They're only initiative 4. And then you look at the Knights Cenobium, and you're like, what the fuck? These two are in the same slot competing to do the same job in these armies? Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, but if they didn't bring out a Legion specific unit for each Legion, people would drop shits on the street.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, but I'm not arguing that they get rid of unique units. I'm not saying that at all.
No, you just want to standardize them, though. Jesus, good work, Bernie Sanders.
No, he's saying Leedham's saying if you have all Terminators, regardless of Legion, should have 2 wounds. The fact that they've got 2 wounds is regardless of their Legion. They should just be extra tanky because they're Terminators. And you can play with things like the weapon skill. Okay, you might have a Legion that's more combat oriented and will have a higher weapon skill or more attacks. But it's if you took the Knights Cenobium and you just got rid of the Orders Exemplars, this would still be a really good unit. If you got rid of that Order Exemplars and you said, hey, they're still Cataphracti, they're still 45 points or more, but they all have Thunderhammers or Tyrannic Greatswords. They've all got the Plasma Caster Gun. They can all still Overwatch. They've still got Adamantium Wheels, still got Stubborn. They would still be a really good unit. Whereas, something like the Emperor's Children, you've got none of those rules.
Okay, so what if your Terminator unit, right? Just basic Legion Terminator unit. What if they could choose any of the veteran special rules.
Brilliant.
That's what I always think that Terminators should be able to have, like veterans and Terminators have always just been the same guys, just wearing different types of armor. So, like, why when you get in Terminator armor do you forget how to monster hunt?
I still like the idea of them all being 2 wounds.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, give them. Well, no, I don't. Well, I don't think veteran should. Veteran attacks, like.
No.
But
Terminators.
Yeah, give Terminators 2 wounds. I don't give a fuck. Like, Terminators are soft as shit. Like, whenever they come
like
fucking
they're
run.
35 points a model. Make them tanky. Like the 2+ save is not worth the 3 times the points cost for standard marine before you even include war gear in the equation. Because that's what they are. They're 3 times the points for standard marine, and that's coming with a power weapon and a combi bolter and their Terminator armor. It's not really a good trade.
Well, whatever.
I think you got an idea there with like a sandboxy kind of
veteran skill
unit style for Terminator squads would be very interesting.
Imagine outflanking
they would be super unique, and they would have a real history to them. And yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
Yeah, he was done.
I was just thinking, like, yeah, you would give them some different rules to like Legion veteran tactical squads. So you wouldn't give them like marksmen, you know, but you could give them something like monster hunters or like furious charge, something like that. Those are the kind of rules you could give them to sort of play up to the fact that Terminators are generally more of a combat unit.
Yeah, whatever. Like, who gives a fuck? It'd be good to have some more strategy. Whatever. Like, who knows? Like, it just seems like
Or purchase Deep Strike for them.
Yeah.
Purchasing Deep Strike would be pretty good, like you can with Night Lords and I think Imperial Fists.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like some of those older units, like Legion Terminator unit, for example, could just get some cool rules, and the new units can just fucking calm down with their like, you know, like that. The Spiculous launcher thing is
one of those. Like Sekhmet are one of the worst for this because, like the points they are is ridiculously good. Force weapons on everyone, and they're all 2 wound Terminators, and they got Brotherhood of Psychers level 2, and they're like 5 points more than a normal Terminator. It's like, no. Again, just because someone else has something shit doesn't mean that someone shouldn't have the 2 good things watered down. So yeah, Knight Cenobium, what a funny fucking unit. And like these Dark Angels releases in general, like I really don't like the Knight Cenobium. They're just so over the top for me. I'm like, if you took the 40k Dark Angels torsos, like the inner circle robed ones, and put these guys' arms on them, and put the legs of just stock fucking Cataphracti or like stock Justirian on them, they would look way better than this bloated mess. Because you look at the Praetor and the Dark Angels, you're like, that's like the perfect level to me, the Terminator Praetor, like the perfect level of detail. It's like, yeah, he's got some iconography and stuff, but his shoulders are mostly blank. They're not covered in giant fucking Deathwing icons. You know, he doesn't have these huge swords on his knees. It's just like these tiny little swords with little bits of scroll work. Like that. That's perfect. Same as like the Power Armor Praetor. He is pretty basic, really. He's in just this sort of stylized Mark III armor with little fucking loincloth and a fucking rope belt, and his weird shield, which is probably going to get special rules, I guess. I don't know. And the Leviathan and the Contemptor both look great, but then you get to the Cenobium and it's like, oh, my fucking eyes hurt. Like, they're so busy.
Well, I can't agree with you that. I think they look like super heroic and grim. I think like with a more just unsettling paint scheme, you know, just like instead of like I I'm not a fan of like stuff painted red in like a, you know, as in a decorative manner. Like, hey, I've decided to do red wings and a red sword and a red wings about, you know, like there's a lot of just red on there for no reason. If you did that in like as like wrought iron and then a super grim industrial fucking paint scheme and had them on like some forest style, like fecund forest bases. I reckon that'd be fucking shit hot. Like they're in some pine barrens, like where when Lionel grew up. I think that'd be fucking sick because their helms, like those, like Man in the Iron Mask style helms, are just so fucking grim. I think it's just they've used too many. I guess they've only used 3 colors, but it feels like they used too many colors. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, if you took the icons off the back, that would do a lot to break down the boat.
Just doing them painted fucking like wrought iron that's bashed up a little bit, weathered and stuff. I think it'd look fine. It's just weird shit that they're like, oh yeah, fucking, I'm in the such and such lodge or whatever. Like, oh, you get the magical placard of
There's a lot of chunky detail going on there, though.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. All black
suit and
shit.
Like, it's just a fucking opinion. Like,
yeah.
I could be the one who's wrong here.
Well, neither of us could be right, and neither of us could be wrong.
But Leedham is here, so he can be our tiebreaker to tell you how wrong you are, Tim.
I like how some of them have like the Dan Brown. What's that Dan Brown book? The fucking
the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, Da Vinci Code. That some of them have got like Da Vinci Code style like thigh straps, like that albino in Da Vinci Code has.
Silices or something like that, I think they're called.
Yeah, have you seen that, Michael?
These guys are totally out of a fucking Nicolas Cage National Treasure movie.
Have you seen that movie of that book, Marco?
Yeah, I have.
It's like Paul.
What's his name? Paul Bettany.
Yeah, it's Paul. It's Paul Bettany as an albino with like no hair, and just like whipping himself and shit, just like fucking out of control. I bet they submitted that footage for fucking when he applied to be what's that guy? That the magic guy and
Vision.
Yeah, Vision. Just like look, see, I can play like a just like zero charisma loser.
See,
look at this.
Paul Bettany's one of those funny actors. Like I remember the first thing I remember him was A Knight's Tale, where he's the announcer, the herald, and he's like they find him like wandering naked because he gambled away all his stuff. And then like the next thing I remember him, he did like these 2 movies, one where he's like a vampire hunter and another where he's a fallen angel. I think one was called Legion.
His only good movie is fucking Master and Commander: The End.
Yeah,
Wimbledon
that's just a great movie though.
Remember when he was in Wimbledon with fucking what's her name? Chick with like little sharp little teeth, Kirsten Dunst. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, he wasn't good in that. The only movie he's good in, or the only movie you can watch and like shed a tear for someone in, is that fucking movie Master and Commander, where he plays like the Doctor. Fucking.
Funny thing, Master and Commander, it was originally going to be it was an American ship, like a Constitution class frigate, but the producers in the movie were like, "No, American audiences won't understand British fighting Americans. Got to make them French." It's like just giving zero credit to what the audience can understand. Because like the audience knows the War of 1812 was a thing, but apparently the French were building ships in the US for some reason. So I really like that movie. So it was just a random fact I thought I'd put in there. It was Australian directed too.
Yeah. Well, that's I don't know. Yeah, that's very strange. But then again,
Russell Crowe and 6-odd-foot of grunt in there.
Yeah, see, if it was any Australian person, you'd be like, oh yeah, who do the British hate? The French, yeah. Let's make the fucking French. So, yeah, I can understand it.
To be fair, though, like the Napoleonic Wars was just like 15 years of the Royal Navy just belting the snot out of the French Navy. I say only 15 years because, like, by the end of the Napoleonic Wars, there was no French Navy. like after 1805, no French Navy.
That's probably why they just dominated every land battle that they fought.
Well, that's the thing. But I mean, everyone else eventually caught up to Napoleon, like tactics-wise. But it just took a while, like just a lot of hard lessons. It was probably about the point where the fucking Russians burned down Moscow on them that the tide turned. That's it. Never start a land war in Russia. It's fucking solid advice,
Yeah, that's interesting. I just listened to a podcast all about the Revolutionary War and oh sorry, the French Revolution, and it never really made any mention of the French Navy.
Well, it's not that they were terrible. It's just the British were just better.
But what were they doing,
Um,
like fucking during the Revolution?
well, they took Napoleon to Egypt for the
That was
Egyptian
after, yeah, but that
campaign.
was like after the Revolution.
Uh, it
Because
was
because
after
everyone
they
invaded, everyone
formed.
went to war with them, like the uh,
It was
Holy
after the
Roman Empire.
Directorate that he went to Egypt, but the French Navy was doing like a lot of harassing. They were fighting the British in different places all around the world, just trying to
The
interrupt each
fuck?
other's supply
Yeah,
lines and
right.
stop trade and economic war. A lot of French frigates out there, which is like what Master and Commander is sort of based on. The idea of hunting down an enemy frigate that's just fucking with your economy in the background. The way the
Mm.
Germans sent out like pocket battleships like the Graf Spain World War Two.
Did
Well,
they,
They
if
were
I would have
commerce
to guess,
raiders.
the higher like levels of command in the French Navy would have been aristocrats, right, or at least just money bourgeoisie. So if
mm.
they're all getting a chop, then where do you get all these like experienced?
Well, they had yeah, they had commissars as well that they sent out to the military, to the army at
Yeah,
least. I wonder if they sent them to the navy too. I don't know. It's just interesting. I just never thought about it until you mentioned the French navy, and you know,
Well, Napoleon got
maybe that's
put to
why they
sea
got so
for
fucked
Toulon
on, because they just had, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they were very
I
well
think at the
funded.
siege of Toulon, he prevented French battleships from falling into the hands of the British because the crews were anti-revolution, or at least were going to hand over the ships to the British, and the British were going to come in and get them. So Napoleon like stationed his artillery up on the fucking hilltop of Toulon to stop the British from coming in, like that. And that's where he sort of made his name. Like that was his first like fucking step on the ladder.
Mm.
I
Chinese
studied the French Revolution.
engines.
It's been a while, but I did study the French Revolution in high school, and I've loved it ever since because it's just so fucking berserk what happened. like,
Yeah.
things escalated quickly. Like the whole like tennis court oath and that kind of thing at the start of it's like, oh yeah, like that's pretty rational. And, like Robespierre is just like some fucking lawyer, and he's got like these really sane demands, and
Mm.
it's like 5 years later, he's like literally cutting off everyone's head.
Yeah, the thing that just fucking always blows me away is the fact that the whole country's fucking fucked. Everyone's going apeshit, and then somehow they're also fighting on like the Spanish and the fucking Holy Roman Empire and the fucking Austrians and the Dutch, and like fucking and winning on like all fronts as well, like all at the same
Yeah,
time. Like all of this
yeah.
fucking insane shit's happening, and they're also just like
Yeah, well,
fucking
they're going through a
yeah.
government every 3 years roughly,
It's just
and
fucking insane.
they're going through like the Committee of Public Safety, the
Yeah, yeah.
Directorate, all these fucking names that
Committee for Public Safety
Orwellian
is
names. Yeah, that was literally one of their
Yeah,
governments,
yeah.
and meanwhile, they introduced conscription, which just wasn't a thing until the French Revolution. They introduced conscription, and so they come to like battles with like 200,000 dudes, and the enemy army is like a professional army of like 30,000. They're like, oh, what the fuck do we do here? And the other thing the French did was they massed shit tons of cannons. Like that was when artillery sort of started to really take off on the battlefield.
Mm.
The French would just bring in shitloads of cannons and shitloads of bodies to the battle. Like when Napoleon invaded Russia, the Grand Army was something like fucking 750,000 strong. I think only 30,000 came out of Russia, but like just ridiculous, the size. And like when they conquered an area, as it were, they would have their vassal states like give troops to the French army as well to make it even bigger. So like that's how they were doing really well. And then of course like the Peninsular War with the Duke of Wellington in Portugal, that was just a fucking guerrilla war. Whereas the French weren't devoting too many resources to it because they invaded Spain, so they had insurgencies in Spain, and then of course every time the French turned their back to try and deal with it, that's when the Prussians and the Austrians would just declare another war on them. And meanwhile, Britain's just there bankrolling the whole fucking time. Like, hey, Prussia, we'll pay you to go to war with France again. We're just going to sit over here with our navy safely out of harm's way.
Mm.
And then, then the British just basically crippled the French fleet with like Cape Finisterre, the Battle of the Nile, and of course Trafalgar. So
Do you know what happened to fucking Robespierre? How he like was hiding out in his house in the what was it, like wherever it was, a town hall or something, and they came for him, and he shot himself, tried to kill himself with a pistol, but he just shot his jaw off, and
Yeah, and then they took him out and cut his head off.
no, yeah, but the first he was just like, oh shit, I got to avoid capture, so he took his shoes off and leapt out a window, and then he just like fell on like. When he fell outside, there was like a bunch of dudes standing around, so he fell on some dude's bayonets that were like just happened to be held there, and like fucked his pelvis up, fucking like fucked his legs up, basically couldn't walk, and was just like had his jaw shot away. So they just took him to a fucking like wherever the fuck it was, just like sat him in a room while he just like bled, and they wrapped up his jaw and shit, and then they just brought him out, yeah, and then cut his head off.
Yep, good end to a lawyer.
Fuck. Jesus Christ.
Well then, like, funny fact, Oliver Cromwell is the only man in England or English history to have been hung after death, or to be executed after death.
Yeah,
So
weird.
Cromwell had died from fucking old age or whatever.
Malaria.
And then when the monarchy returned to power, they dug up his corpse and hung it.
It's weird. Surely that's been done before though.
I'm sure plenty of other cultures have done it, but that was like the first time the English did it.
Oh, okay, all right. Well,
Well, one of the popes got dug up and taken to court, didn't he?
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Was it a bishop or was someone like that? I remember it's quite famous. There's famous paintings of this like dead body in all the robes being questioned by lawyers.
Yeah, yep, that sounds right.
Robespierre.
The law is
classic.
weird like that.
Yeah.
Classic
Yeah, no.
maniac.
I
I wonder why they never tell you about Robespierre, like in school. You know, they sort of just like make the French Revolution seem really like
Boring.
yeah, just like oh yeah, it's over really quickly. But it's like fucking how many years? Like 12 years or something. It just goes for ages. Just all kinds of
they
like
talk about,
insane shit
yeah,
happens.
well,
They didn't. They well, I mean, I'm talking about Australian school. So who the fuck knows? Like they tell you a lot of crazy shit at Australian school.
well, then again, like we're doing better than a lot of other countries for education, but we're doing worse in some countries as well. I guess our priorities are all fucked. Like, I mean, Australia wants to they do like whole semesters on Aboriginal history, and not to put too fine a point on it, but not a lot happens compared to like European or Asian history, right? Because an awful lot of stuff happens in like how many dynasties has China had? How many dynasties did ancient Egypt have? You know,
Does that have an
Greece,
effect?
ancient Rome, like Roman Empire lasted for 1,000 years. Huge amount of stuff, a lot of conflict, a lot of different cultures clashing. Whereas like Native Australian Aboriginal history is pretty much just a lot of like folk tales, like the Dreamtime, that kind of thing. It's like there's no political dialogue, there's no great discoveries that are made.
Oh well, no, wait. There's a lot of like good information that can be extracted from like the Aboriginal sort of stuff, cultural, just like stuff like that. There was tons of different peoples. They all have like some really interesting stories to tell. Lots of these stories like line up with like geological and astrological like information.
For sure. But
yeah.
again,
So why don't? That's what I'm saying. Why don't
because
they teach you that stuff?
Has way less of an impact on our culture than say.
Yeah, but they don't even tell you that stuff, man.
The Magna Carta. Like we don't even look at the Magna Carta in school here in Australia.
No. Well, why would you, man? Why would you?
Well, because it's the basis of English common law, which is the very laws we use today. So it's like, all the reforms that happened under back when Belisarius in Byzantium, like all of Western law today basically stems from the Byzantine laws that they wrote.
Hey, the less you know about the law, the better, young man.
Well, maybe, but I mean, yeah, all the mathematical, all the maths that they came up with in like ancient Persia and Babylon, and there's just so much we gloss over in history, so much we could learn from, and it's like I'm not saying that like Aboriginal culture, for example, is not worth learning about. I think it is, but I think it's more it should be an elective, something that you look at because you're passionate about it, as opposed to the history that really had an impact on the world as a whole. Like, the British Empire, I think we did 3 months on in school. It's like, hang on a minute, a nation that controlled fucking half the surface area of the fucking world for like 200 years and has basically resulted in the world we have today. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, but you don't want to look into that too deeply. You'll find all the fucking bad shit that we did, man. Like that's
Well,
why they.
no,
That's
we
why they...
should talk about all the bad shit.
Yeah,
here.
well, maybe.
Like we should talk about the fact that the British trafficked slaves, but then we should also talk about the fact that the British also ended the slave trade. British exploited India horribly. Like these, you shouldn't shy away from these topics. It's a learning point. Perhaps
yeah.
if perhaps you wouldn't have all these idiot fucking Antifa supporters if they actually knew like the horrors of Bolshevism and what the Russian Civil War actually did to the fucking people there.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of agreements to just keep stuff out of each other's telling all our kids about it. Shit,
Maybe,
like China doesn't want us talking about the Tiananmen Square, right? And you don't like we never fucking got taught about Tiananmen Square when I was at school. They told us about like how communism, like communism's really bad. I mean, they never talked about they never mentioned that, and that had happened.
We had to study the Cold War in year 10. If you took history elective in year 10, you got to study
yeah, the Cold War, yeah.
But it's one of those funny things where it's like, these things have a major impact on society as a whole, and yet we sort of push them to the side to focus on things like Australian history. It's like, really, our history is pretty boring. And that's not even just Aboriginal.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In general, like, white man history in Australia is pretty fucking...
Yeah. Well, and that's all well, dude, when I was at school, like, I'm a bit older than you, and when I finished high school in 98, and they taught you very little about Aboriginal stuff. Like, I was always interested in what those guys were doing here, just from watching, because, like, I grew up in Scouts, and sort of learning a lot about, sort of, like, the Little Land and stuff, and then also, like, I was, like, a big fan of the Bush Tucker Man show, where he was always, like...
No, it was a great show.
Yeah, I was, like, a major fan of that shit. So, like...
I mean, he was no Russell Coight, but...
Yeah, it was obviously no Russell Coight Outback Adventures, but, yeah, it was, like... It was really good, because he went around to all the Aboriginal people, and was just, like, the first thing he did was he didn't just wander around looking for fucking berries and shit. Everywhere he went, he would go to the Aboriginal people and go, hey, what's up? Like, what's good to eat? And they would be like, yeah, let us fucking show you all these fucking awesome things. So, like, I've spent a lot of time sort of... There's some really good documentaries and stuff about Aboriginal culture and stuff. I think, like, lots of white people just... like, just never fucking read about it, Like, there's, National Geographic people, People grew up reading National Geographic. I guess, like, you get some crazy fucking ideas from that. But... Yeah, like, they never taught us any of that shit, man. When I finished in 98, all they taught us about was, like, Australian history, like, woo, and the Cold War and all that sort of shit. And I'm just like, hey, what about, like, my family only just came here, like, last generation. I'm looking around this room, everyone has a fucking English last name, or Irish last name, or a fucking Welsh last name, whatever, Like, everyone here's, like, from fucking Britain. Why aren't we learning any British history?
It's like that funny thing, though, because, like, we're so insecure about the fact that we've got no history. We really have to, like, talk up the history we were involved in. Because it's like, yeah, okay, we did kick fucking heaps of ass in both world wars. Like, we were just old dependable. Whenever Britain needed to actually win a battle, they sent in Anzacs. Like,
yeah, that's true. You learn a lot about that,
like,
yeah.
We take Tobruk, we fucking held heaps of Crete. World War One, we broke the fucking spine of the German army over our knee alongside the Canadians at, like, Amiens and these famous battles, Meanwhile, the British are just like, man, wish we were as cool as the Australians. And, like, even the Americans are like, oh, man, like, the Australians just kicking out. They're just kicking all the goals, right? And we're so proud of it, though, but we can't let it go. We just got to, like, keep letting everyone know, like, that we were there. It's like, because everyone thinks of, like, the Pacific War. They're like, oh, the Americans, they beat the Japanese back. Meanwhile, it's like, hang on, the Australians beat the Japanese with our equivalent of, like, the American National Guard in fucking the mountains of New Guinea, like in one of the most ridiculous campaigns in all of fucking modern combat, where it's literally like super Vietnam, like Vietnam prequel of like Japanese and Australians just ambushing each other in the fucking jungles of literally mountains. Like if anyone
and like
Google like Kokoda, and it's like holy shit, like that's what they fought in.
Yeah, super remote, super fucking insane areas where like even if helicopters were invented, it'd be hard to get them in and shit like that. Like
yeah, we struggle to get in there today with fucking planes and helicopters.
Yeah, it's madness.
And in World War II, our dudes were lugging fucking artillery up these hills. Meanwhile, everyone's like, yeah, man, the Americans kicked some ass around Guadalcanal.
Like, it's not to belittle American.
No idea.
Yeah.
Not to belittle the American.
They did do a lot of.
They're the reason we won the Pacific
War.
Yeah.
They did most of the shit. Yeah.
They did the heavy lifting, but they also did the heavy lifting after everyone else had already been bloodied.
Yeah,
like it's that analogy of like the World War One. If World War One was a bar fight, it's like Germany knocks Belgium out cold, and then just starts having a prolonged fist fight with England, France, and Russia, and eventually Russia falls over. France drops to his knees, and then America comes in with the chair and just smacks Germany over the back of the head. And they're like, we won.
Yeah, it's a classic Istvan 5 move, man. You have like the reserves that come in, and who knows what side. Boom! Here comes America. Were they going to come in?
The Ottomans just fall over without anyone hitting them in the corner.
Yeah,
it's a great analogy. I don't know who wrote it, but it made me laugh. And yeah, so it's like Australian history is basically just so much of it revolves around like the wars of the 20th century because it's like there's not much else to talk about. It's like yeah, we're good at fighting and drinking and sports. That's pretty much it,
dude.
Like,
here's one.
Movies are crap, and
dude. Here's one for the conspiracy. Like I know we've been recording for like 2.5 hours now, but I've got to get this in. So one last 9/11 conspiracy. So I finished school in '98. In history, one of the last things we did in history that they just like crammed in right at the end of like year 12 was this semester or whatever the fuck. Maybe it was just a term. Maybe it was a term. Maybe it was a semester. On Afghanistan and the situation in Afghanistan. This is in '98. So by 2001, I knew all about what the Clinton News Network wanted me to know about Afghanistan going into the events following September 11. That's convenient, isn't it? Because why the fuck would you tell anyone about Afghanistan otherwise? Why would you give a shit that like tell people about the Russians and then the the Taliban and shit?
Well, they were the heroes back in the day.
Yeah, but why would you?
Rambo, they were the heroes.
If they didn't know that, like, we were gonna go, like, why would you bother painting this picture of these, like, in school? Like, the government, like, made that happen.
Yeah, that's weird. So here's one for you. You know, the 12th of September, not the 11th of September, the 12th of September in 1897, the Indians in the British Army actually had a fight with the Afghans. Battle called Saragahi, or something to that effect. Again, I'm not great with my Hindi. But a bunch of, I think it was Sikh soldiers, like 2,000 fucking Mujahideen fighters fucking attacked like 20 Indian dudes, and they like held them off to the fucking last man with literally like the building burning. The dudes in the distance were watching the last fucking dude waving the British flag on top of the building and bayoneting people still. Like the last guy left alive.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's like, this is things you forget. Like that was Indian troops fighting for the British Empire to die to the last fucking man. So it's like when Australia goes, oh man, we kicked some German ass in World War I and II. It's like, yeah, what about those guys? We never talk about things like that. Like we never talk about like, the Muslim conquests, whether it's like the Mughal Empire or like the fall of Byzantium. Like the fall of Byzantium is a huge event in Western history, completely changes the dynamic of the world. Never cover that in school. It's like, let's talk about feudalism for a couple of periods, or World War One. And I got marked down a paper once for World War One by a teacher who knew less about it than I did. Work that one out.
It's before the internet, man. They couldn't just like read the Wikipedia on it and see that you were right.
Well, I was trying to explain to them how the alliance system was partly responsible for World War One, and they're like, "Oh, if alliances were all that counted, then Italy would have joined the war." It's like, well, we know Italy didn't join the war because Italy used a fucking get out of jail free card, which was the alliance was a defensive alliance, not an aggressive one, and therefore, since the Austrians were starting the war, the Italians didn't have to participate.
Mm.
So, like, yeah, for whatever reason, this teacher was like, no, alliances had nothing to do with the war, and they had like their little checkbook thing, and it was like, no, these are the reasons for the war according to my checkbook. And yeah, it's like, okay, and you're my teacher.
Well, at least you didn't like. What'd you do? Did you develop some sort of like autistic problem about it? Did you like?
Well, look how much I know about history now. Did you clearly I've overcompensated.
If he's lying, what else are they lying about? Yeah, exactly. Dude, that's what I realized once I started just being like, oh, I can just read like fucking primary like sources, like just accounts of people who are at the thing, rather than listening to like a teacher tell you like a story that almost, and especially like religious studies, I had to go to like RE like once a week in primary school. And this guy would just tell you all these fucking, like this priest guy would just come and just tell you all these stories, and then you look them up later and you're like, that's totally fucking wrong. Like, you just made up all that shit. So yeah, and then when you realize you can actually read just like accounts from people who are actually there and saw the shit that happened, you're just like, holy fuck. That's like, what the fuck? Like,
it's way better, isn't it? That's why I like Dan Carlin Hardcore History, because he reads so many accounts of like people who are actually there. He doesn't just toe the line, as it were, of like the accepted version of history. He's like, well, here's the source from both sides of the coin, and you can just make your mind up in the middle. I really like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've derailed enough, so we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah.
It's like fucking 1:30 in the morning where I am.
Oh shit! Late night fucking shit show. Late night
hobby.
bullshit.
Yeah. But thanks very much for joining me, Tim, and also Leedham for tagging along there.
Just to Thank you for allowing me to give you my opinion on everything.
It's and then next thing we'll do is go back to mass tomorrow night. We'll play Supreme Commander again.
Leedham, I hope you didn't say anything triggering. Otherwise, you like anything too triggering for people.
Yeah, if you're on the outer circle now, like that's pretty much a target painted on your back.
You're gonna be cancelled. Hence #cancelled.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would Phil the Greek do in this situation, mate?
Yeah, exactly. What would Phil the Greek do? Yeah, what a crazy fucking dude. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, I'm glad I came on, Macca. It's good to chat to you. Good to just fucking just discuss shit like pricing and stuff. Just stuff that like I don't like talking about it that much. Like I don't mind talking about it, like coming on here and talking about it where you where you guys do sort of address that sort of stuff. Like, but like I mean, I think if you just go on and on and on about it, like you're just wasting your time. Like it's good to get it out in the open so that everyone knows what the fuck, like that there are problems and that hopefully fucking people can address them. And like even if you just like listen to this and you disagreed with like 99% of what we said, hopefully we've changed your mind or just like shown you some extra stuff that you might not have thought about, and maybe got your mind thinking about like ways to address the issues if they come up in your local group, because like they may come up in your group. People might say, so fucking expensive, what the fuck? And then you say, well, luckily I've been playing since the beginning and I have several armies, would you like to borrow one of my armies? And then maybe like they gradually spend like buy stuff fucking secondhand or whatever, and then slowly build up an army, and you lend them one of your armies. If you want the hobby to grow, you gotta fucking lend people armies, get other people into it, show them how to play the game, and just show them that like the game is fucking good. And obviously there's some negative fucking problem, there's some fucking issues, but it's not stuff that can't be fixed. So if you want the community to grow, you gotta try and address the issues and fix them. If you want it to just stagnate and be like then just don't address shit and just let it simmer, and then people will just get more and more fucking upset. So anyway, boom, done.
It's pretty handy advice. The Yeah, it's why I have the Getting Started series on Horus Heresy, because I do love the game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't travel all around the fucking country and even to like America to play the game if I didn't. But at the same time, you do have to point out the things that are the bad about the game, because there are bad things, But I think that's just forming the well-rounded view for the consumer, so people can come in, they're kind of full bottle, they know what they're getting into, as opposed to going, oh fuck, I really want to get a Horus Heresy, and then having a heart attack the moment they see the prices or something. But like I think the last video I did on pricing was back when they did the price hike, so almost 2 years ago now. So it's like it's been long enough that a small discussion like tonight it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I found your discussions on the different factions for Horus Heresy really helpful, and really helped me to understand what I wanted to get started in and what I needed to think about. Because when you come in early on, you develop a kind of a fake wisdom of what's going to be good and what might not work.
Yeah.
That you can only really learn when you're playing or when you're watching other people play.
And then I think the important thing to also remember is I'm not right about everything, and no one is ever right about everything. Don't get set in your ways. Take on board what everyone else around you is saying. Like, I could have blown off Tom Gould and been like, "You're a fucking idiot." Instead, I was like, "No, I'm gonna try out what he suggested," and then I found out, you know what? I'm the fucking idiot. That happens from time to time. So, listen to people around you. Take it on board. Maybe my Getting Started in Heresy series is great for you. Maybe you're like, I like it, but I think I can improve on it. Try it. Go for it, It's a great game, and like we're talking about things that are wrong with it, but you got to remember, like go on Tim's Eye of Horus podcast, and they talk about what are the positives of the game, and they'll fill you full of knowledge over how many episodes you've done now, like 170, something like that.
Yeah, 170. Yeah, right on.
Yeah, bang on.
Oh, plus more of different shows. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's like they can come on your show and they can just listen to like people talking about like games they've played and all these fun events. It's like I'm here, the naysayer in the corner, right? There's so much positive stuff out there. Like they don't need me making positive content. There's so many people doing that already, So go out there, listen to other people's experiences, form your own ideas, and grow the best hobby you can. Or you can just sit here on like a Saturday night like we all are and talk shit about Phil Creek, whatever. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Check out Tim at iHorus Podcast.
Yeah.
Catch him on like SoundCloud. Also
SoundCloud, iTunes,
Instagram.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Instagram at iHorus Pod on Instagram, or iHorus Podcast on iTunes. But we do have a YouTube channel which is called the iHorus Podcast. But I started putting episodes on there, and I was like, this takes ages. And I sort of like gave up. So if you go there, you can see at what point I gave up. Spoiler alert: it's not 100. Yeah, it's not 169.
Oh well, you should just set it and forget it of a day while you're at work or something.
Yeah, there is 3. There is the latest, Demystifying the Mechanicum, which is like a 3-part. Like I think there's like 4 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours, or something like that. It's like a huge mega fucking podcast that's up there. So if you do want to listen to Brendan Hickey and I talk about Mechanicum at length, at extreme length, like, what is that, like 11 hours or some shit? Whatever the fuck it is. Go to iHorus Podcast YouTube channel and check that out. Because it's all about, like, the how the Mechanicum plays in 30k. And also just a whole bunch of crazy...
If you see my Getting Started Mechanicum episode, just drag out that to 11 hours and examine it on the cellular level.
And possibly not even on the cellular level, possibly just like some units, just like, really quick go over, and some units, let's talk for 20 minutes about Thalax, stuff like that. So, yeah, check it out. That's all I can offer you, YouTubers.
Very good information.
Yeah, that's the best I can offer you, YouTube-only people.
Alright, so thanks everyone for watching this just chat episode.
What are you showing pictures of? Have you been showing pictures of stuff?
There's just some Dark Angels stuff in the background. Some of my the fluff for my Thousand Suns as well.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
It's been good. It's been good.
Excellent. See you in the comments, guys. I can't wait to see this go up and see what they say in the comments.